Hello and welcome to Subscribed. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video about Jubilee. It's a video called Queer vs Conservative Parents, Middle Ground. So, let's just, dive into the video.
Welcome to the Creator Launchpad. We want to see your idea for a new original show concept. So get together with your friends and shoot an episode.
I mean, that's going to be difficult, isn't it? Like, you're just a pretty high budget.
We'll watch your video, and if we love it, we'll hire you to join our...
And there's some things, right, which are just like... I mean, take a while to shoot and do all that sort of stuff. And with increased budget and increased all that, you can get, like, increased team and all that, which you can just do with an increased budget. You will get more output and maybe a little bit better quality. But there's some things that are just unattainable. That's the thing there. They're just sort of like unattainable without that budget, So that's sort of the point, though. So there are certain things you just can't do with the budget you have. So you need a bigger budget to show you what it would look like with a bigger budget. Is what I'm saying. It costs money on the outset. It isn't just like, oh, you can increase your output with a bigger budget. Anyway, that's just a very short explanation of this.
Our team and direct more episodes. Click on the link in the description below for more information.
Okay.
I don't even know what queer means, because you have a different definition. I'm sure you have one. I'm sure you
probably know what queer means at this point.
One, and I'm sure you have one.
2022, baby. You better look up what queer means. It's often used awful.
So you guys, hold on.
You don't know what it means? That's concerning. Oh, versus kids. Okay.
Step forward.
Okay, teens is not. That's not fair.
If you agree with the prompt, it is important.
Like, the only difference between the two is that both sets have children. But even in that case, some children as well. So it's important for children to honor their children's. It's important for parents to honor their children's boundaries.
Honor their children's boundaries.
Yeah. Certain ones. It does stop at a certain extent, but yeah. I mean, yeah.
I like the phrase "boundaries breed intimacy." If you don't have that respect, mutual respect for one another, how can I be open with you as a child? There's that lack of trust if you're not respecting boundaries.
It's also important because each kid is different, and I have a brother, and boundaries that work for me don't work for him. And so my parents parent both of us according to what we need, and that involves having different boundaries. So,
And like, to honor your child's boundaries does not mean at your boundaries there's a deficit at my boundaries. Like, my kid is not going to be cussing me out, telling me what he's not going to do. It's none of that. I can respect my child, and I have a 14-year-old son, and he respects me. I've never had any issues with rebellion or
I think that's more about your personal child, though. Like, your child is just a better child then, or there are certain things in which maybe the child wants to do things, but just isn't gonna say it to you. But I'm saying is that just that kind of thing. Maybe you just have a better child.
guess disrespecting that
There's not
way.
necessarily like a benefit of you, or your respecting of their boundaries. It not necessarily be the benefit there. It might just be that your child is just better.
Because we communicate about everything now.
Look-wise.
And there is a line, of course, that you don't want to cross. Especially when it comes to the safety of the child.
it is 100% safety, and it just means you respect their emotions as a human. It doesn't mean you let your kid do whatever you want. I think that's a common misconception.
Yeah.
Can the disagreeers step forward?
Yeah, really, yeah, your boundaries are. Because, like, it's just a thing where it's like, well, boundaries inevitably are like that. You're not saying, oh, you can do whatever you like. So, you can't. But
I would like it if the prompt was worded almost a little bit differently, because it puts importance on my kid's boundaries, where I think as a parent, we set those.
No, actually, that's not a good idea. Because your child is your child. They are themselves a person. If you set the boundaries, you're going to come off as a tyrant. Or come off as a bad parent. Like, the whole point is, like, if you set a boundary really, really, really far, so you're just not doing stuff that the child might even want you to do, So you just go, oh, I won't cross that boundary. But if you create that boundary, not the child, then you haven't ever just basically become a bad parent. Because the child wants you to act in a certain way, but you're not doing it out of your choice. Instead, maybe there's not the child that would love you if you acted like that. But the point is, you just then are a bad parent because you're not actually, because you're setting those boundaries, or you're becoming really tyrannical because you're pushing into. I'm not really comfortable with this. It's like then yeah, you're gonna have problems there. That's not a good way of parenting.
Boundaries. But I like what you said, where you said that just because boundaries are set doesn't give your child the ability or the reason to cuss you out because it's like, oh well, I've set these boundaries up and that's my boundary.
It seems like people are equating boundaries with emotions, and I would not do that. I would say that their emotions are different from their.
What? Yeah, that boundaries are actions. Emotions are result of actions.
The boundaries that we as parents should be setting for them, because I don't know about you, but when I was a child, I broke every boundary that my parents set for me. And
That's the point, though, because you don't fucking set boundaries for your children about you. Because what even is that supposed to be?
they were there for specific reasons to keep me safe.
But what I think we're I think she's misunderstanding what boundaries are. Like, you do realize there is a difference between boundaries and behavior.
So if we just allow our children to have no boundaries, or we allow them to set the standard for the boundaries, I think.
Well, what does no boundaries mean? Does no boundaries mean you can do whatever you like as a parent? Or does it mean the child can do whatever they like? Because it's a very big difference. Boundaries, there's two different sort of definitions there. If I say, I have no boundaries, you can do whatever you like as a parent. Or, I have no boundaries, that your boundaries are for you, my boundaries are for me, kind of thing,
That they're just not emotionally, to bring that word back, capable of doing that.
That is a personal opinion, though. Some children are very good at doing stuff, so it's just...
And keeping themselves safe. I think that's our job as parents.
Yeah, I think too, going off of that the relationship you have with a parent is very contingent on the child knowing that the parent has your best interest at heart. And like you said, there were many times in my childhood that I wanted to do something and I didn't have the same boundary that my parents did. Maybe I didn't have all the information. I'm glad that they protected me and they had my best interest at heart. And I think that that's important for the parent-child relationship.
Can I throw in a follow-up question? Let's redirect and think about boundaries too as autonomy. Okay. Go.
Encompassing what though?
As an example, a little kid doesn't feel comfortable hugging a family member, you must hug them anyway. That's your uncle, hug them. And they're trying to tell you,
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I feel like that your one was really kind of missing the whole boundaries thing, and that kind of...
I was actually about to talk on that. I think it's less about the child setting the boundary with the parent. I think parents should definitely have the final say in terms of those boundaries, but I think it's more about fostering conversation with the children that you are an individual, you do have autonomy. Just for this phase of your life, I will take the lead, I'm the parent, but instilling in the child that you are your own person.
Yeah, because otherwise you just do generate an issue of, they will make bad decisions because you are effectively, telling them to do something. And inherently parents make the mistake where it's like they just don't really realize, because things are fine for them, they don't always really,
And you're not just an extension of me.
I have a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 11-month-old son. So there is no boundaries, because you can't have boundaries if there's no foundation and order.
What?
So for me, what I strive to do is to, with my 6-year-old, is just give her lots of words of affirmation and be the lead in everything we do. She rides horses, we go out to the range, she shoots guns. And a lot of the structure and foundation that we're planning is, in the outdoor world. It's not based off social media.
Yeah, skilled shooter.
Tablets, cell phones, and reality TV shows. But if I'm just saying, well, I'm going to wait until she tells me what her boundaries are. I'm going to wait and see how she...
Dodgy. That is a dodgy road to go down, because inevitably you have the issue of, and it happens a lot in society, where it's like the person who's got all the power, the person who's got all the authority, the person who may even be a bit threatening in nature. Not necessarily that they may not be intentionally being threatening, but that's the give off they have. Now, the idea of you telling your dad or your mom, these are my boundaries, is obviously less likely to occur than, my boundaries, these are my boundaries, if they actually ask you, You waiting for your child to tell you, it feels a bit more like, that kind of feels like maybe I might just be, pushing them towards a particular direction.
She feels Well, that's not a parent. That's a friend.
But isn't that what happens? The parent sets the precedent. This is the
Right.
law. This is
Right.
the rules and regulations. It's the foundation, whether it's Christianity, whether it's whatever that you believe in your household. And then you do have your autonomy as a child, and you do start
What?
challenging your parent because your ideas and their ideas might not align just the same way anymore. And that
Oh,
is when the kid has a. So if your daughter,
Well, that's why you should have a basic, not build everything up to the exact.
said, you know what, Daddy, I don't want to wear these clothes no more. I don't want to wear this pink dress. I don't want to wear these frills. I don't want to dress like a girl. I want to cut my hair off. What would you say?
That wouldn't be up to me. That would be up to our mother.
Okay, but
No, it'll be up to them. You know, until your child actually starts harming themselves or people around them, that's until that position. Oh, maybe we need a slight bit of, intervention there, because obviously that's a thing there. And obviously you shouldn't just go, oh, well, we need to intervene and just blindly intervene in any way. You should, of course, take care which way you intervene. Just because almost everyone would agree, yeah, you should intervene as a parent, does not mean that you're intervening the right way. Obviously. You can be a bad parent.
what would you guys say? I would imagine that together you guys make that
Good
decision.
Well,
What? Good answer. Oh, good answer.
In
to
all
his.
honesty, I do work. I have a career and stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm a stay-at-home father at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm the one who dresses. I'm the one who does the hair.
Sure.
But at the same time, it would be up to her mom to decide, okay, well, how can we go about this? And also, if she's having these feelings, we're going to stop for a second, not just hop on and say, okay, well, she says that she wants to dress like a boy now, or she says she wants
But dress like a boy, which is, it is a societal norm. It's not like, oh, yes, this is the way boys are biologically, supposed to. No, it's just a societal thing there. So,
to do this now. Well, let's see where it's coming from, because obviously, if she's not seen it in our home,
but what's the difference though? No, like as in but if you have a brother, and like if you're perceived at least to be a girl by your parents, and you have a brother, and the brother is wearing these clothes, then yeah, you see those fucking clothes. Like, sorry for cursing, but like this is. I mean, you see that in the home. You've seen those clothes in the home, and you want to wear those type of clothes. Not sorry, those clothes in particular, but like those you like. It's the same thing if you see a top. Like, you want to wear that top. Yeah. You want to wear that. Yeah, you want to wear that piece of clothing. So if that clothing is gender coded to be male clothes, man clothes, obviously in this case it would be boy clothes because they're a child. But, then yeah. That's what you see. You see this all the time. Like, do you not experience your child to anything? Unless you have your only child and they're in the middle of the woods and you make even you yourself. If you're a guy, if he is wearing typically man or gender clothes, then yeah, the person you view as your daughter might see that and go, yeah, I would want to wear those clothes. I don't like the clothes you have for me. And I felt, like I haven't liked the clothes before that people have decided I'd be wearing. And like, it can be difficult to even say that. So it's not even like this idea of, oh, is it sudden? It's not really sudden oftentimes. For a lot of children, the courage that it takes to be like, no, actually, I know you've bought me this piece of clothing, but I really don't like it. And I as a person don't want to be ungrateful. So I've had a thing before where I was like, yeah, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say this is actually not clothing that I don't like. So, maybe other children are more upfront about it. Maybe the minute that they feel like they don't like the clothes, they just say it. But I think for me, if I would say that I didn't like the clothes, I think I would hit a lot of stuff there. A lot of
then
questions.
she saw it from somewhere.
That's not true. I was
It's not from you, most likely.
5 years old when I told my mom, I do not want to wear this pink dress. And my parents are pastors, are Christian, and I was adopted in Michigan, Grand Rapids,
think that
Michigan.
really has
I'm just
anything to do
saying
with it,
all
though.
these things.
No, but the point is though, is that what they're saying is that the fact that, and I don't really think it's accurate, because as I said, even if you lived in the middle of nowhere where there was no technology and no other people at all, like in media, in any sense, there's no people, you would still be in the position that you would have the parent, what the parent wears. If you just miniaturize it down in your mind, well, what, they want to wear that? They've seen it from somewhere. You.
Only black child in my entire school district. We were in the paper for bringing multiculturalism to the school district. So I didn't see any tomboys. I didn't see no gay folk. I didn't see nothing. What my point is,
Double negative.
I had a call, I guess you would say a calling of autonomy for who I am. And I'm unapologetic for it because I always follow that as a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old. And thankfully, I had 2 parents that might not have understood, but did fortify me to be myself and never forced me to wear the clothes that I didn't want to wear. My thing is, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think inherently, though, it is a thing of, like, when it comes to, like, gender clothing, it doesn't make much sense because it's just like, well, if you'd let a boy wear this, then why not let a girl wear it? If you let a girl wear this, why wouldn't you let a boy wear it? You know, obviously, if you wouldn't let a boy or a girl wear it, or anyone for that matter, because you think that that's bad clothing as a whole, like it's just bad in general, then that brings me to another argument. Because then we're not talking about gender there. We're not talking about like your weird sort of stereotypes. You know, like if you just wouldn't let anyone, if you disapprove of somebody of any age, of any gender, of any creed, of any, you know, of any ethnicity, of anything, wearing this type of clothing, then that brings you into another thing. That's an argument you can make. Still, you may be wrong, but we can argue further than that. But when you start saying, "Oh, you can't wear this because I view you as this," that's a problem. That's a problem, and it's especially obviously stupid when it comes to gender, because gender is just like, why is clothing gendered? Why is clothing gendered? When I come to like the idea of pink, like pink was a boy's color, you know. Skirts were worn by men, you know. Lace tops were worn by men. You know, high heels were worn by men, and all this is just like a couple hundred years ago. That's who you. That's what it was. That's who you are as a man. You know. So when you have this gender flipping going on, you have to go, well, yeah, but like your child. That's not even like it's just the other ones wear the way one or not, yeah.
Absolutely, give a strong foundation for your children. That's your right. You wouldn't have brought children in this world to not do that. But you got to be a listener.
Yeah.
If your child is saying something that kind of is like, wait, where is this coming from?
Oh, absolutely.
It might not be coming from social media or TV. It might be coming from their heart and their authenticity.
Well, absolutely.
Of themselves.
Well, that's also our job as parents to search their heart. You know, just because a child
That's
says,
creepy, but,
absolutely.
To search your child's heart?
Absolutely.
That comes off as somewhat creepy, you know. Like it's like, you know, like it makes sense somewhat to vet the people that your child wants to be in a relationship with, somewhat, not completely, but somewhat. Like, you know, you obviously don't want them going with, you know, extreme people, but you know, but also that can go down a very dodgy attitude where you start being that way because of just things about that person which maybe are not actually wrong. You're just, you know, there's also things like that. It's like, well, yeah, but that's a problem with them, is it? You know, it's that sort of the way. It's like, I just feel like, you know, maybe you should be careful with, oh, you know, like, sure, but also the searching the child's heart, yeah, but also there were certain avenues approach where that just isn't great, you know. It isn't great.
Accept your child who they are.
Search your child's heart. I don't think we're actually in a conversation to even be talking about dressing or how your kid feels about their gender identity.
At 6 years old, your child can't
We're talking
decide.
about boundaries. We're not talking about
We're talking
sexual
about autonomy.
orientation with
No,
children.
we're talking about autonomy and autonomy.
Yeah, your boundaries, like, well, yeah.
Yeah, but you shouldn't accept your child for everything that they think. Like
But it's not what they think, buddy. Also, I have to find it very dodgy if you think, because obviously, once again, and I've said this before, if your child starts saying that that person is a man, or that person is a woman, or, you know, that person should dress in that way, that person's dressing this other way, that's obviously like, no, shut the fuck up, you're an idiot. But the child is not talking about other people, you know? So maybe the child is wrong, maybe the child is ignorant, but they're not talking about other people, you know? They're talking about themselves. And if a child wants to dress in a certain way, they want to dress in that way. Now, obviously, let's say it's in a very, very concerning way. What if it's, you know, like, you know, very revealing or whatever, and you don't approve of that because you think there will be some creepy people who will like that, you know? And you go, no, you know, because you wouldn't agree with that whether your child was a boy or girl or whatever. As I've said already, you know, whatever the creed, whatever the gender, whatever the thing may be, you're just against that in general. That flatly for every single person, you're against that. And because this is your child, you're going to put your foot down for this. That is someone understandable. Like, you know, you're against that. But once you start saying, oh, this is the way you want to... Well, I mean, like, this sort of shit. Like, oh, you should... What's this? I don't know why it's not working. My God, the internet is slow for me.
I used to dress up and like think I was a pirate, but my...
Okay, well... You're just an idiot then. No offense, but I never thought I was a pirate. You know, you may pretend as if you are, but I never was like, I actually am a pirate. I'm on the high seas right now. I'm on a boat, and I'm attacking other boats and stealing their valuables. That's what I'm doing in this moment. Indeed. Yeah. No offense, but if you're, I mean, you can have an imagination, but I think most children are not, you know, you might need to see like a psychiatrist or psychologist for something if you actively do think, because that's concerning. You should be aware of, you know, your imagination is one thing, but your spatial awareness, I feel like maybe you should definitely go and see someone if you think you are actively a pirate.
Parents didn't cut off my arm and attach a hook. Like, not everything...
First of all, pirates don't necessarily have hooks for arms. That's what we call a stereotype. Like, pirates burying treasure. They fucking didn't. You know? Because that would be weird. You know, this is the thing here, like... Why do you think pirates had hooks for hands? Because they fucking lost one. Some pirates did not have hooks for hands. Most pirates probably didn't have hooks for hands. I'm just saying, if a pirate had a hook for hand, it would be because they lost one. You know, being a pirate. I don't even think pirates did have hooks for hands. But anyway, that's just a side thing. But my point is, you know, it's just there to replace it. But anyway, that's not even related to it. I'm just saying, even if you were going to be a pirate, you wouldn't, you know, give yourself, because that's like, you know.
That's so different.
No, but it's not. But what I'm saying is, you don't accept everything simply because.
No, but you're just a stupid man, though. Because as a child, you thought you were a pirate. Apologies, I shouldn't say stupid. That's bad. No, that's bad. No, you're either just very stupid, or, you know, maybe you actually do have, you know, certain psychological issues. And if you actually do have psychological issues, I do feel obviously compassion for you and everything. But it's just, if you don't, then you just are, you know, an idiot. You know, because you thought as a child that you were a pirate.
As they say, like,
self-mutilation and accepting your daughter for being gay is a little bit not apples to apples, my friend.
But my point is that you don't just blindly accept for anything. You do accept them for some things, but it's not just blind. They said it, and therefore we should accept them for what they said.
Yeah, but the thing is, if your child is a pirate, you need to contact the authorities and say, unfortunately, my child is a pirate, so you can arrest them for piracy. They'll be serving probably not that long, because if they're a child, you know, they'll go to juvenile sentence. So you probably have them back in, like, it may even be within a year, because, you know, if they're a very young child, you know, you may not even face prison. They may just be charged or something, you know. This happens with children. They just have to go down to the police station. They go, well, you're a child, so, you know, it's fine. We just have to put piracy on your thing there. You did commit a crime, but, you know, you're a child, so yeah, we'll have you back home in no time. You know, just don't do that again, because if you do that as an adult, you will go to prison for many years. You know, that sort of thing. You would have to call the police because they just committed a crime. They've just admitted to a crime there. Because piracy is a crime. That's what it is. Piracy, being a pirate is an occupation, you know? That's the equivalent of you saying, yeah, my son said he was a doctor, so we bought him surgical equipment. It's just going mad. Would I buy him surgical equipment? It's just a mad world. Sorry, a surgical equipment would be a surgeon. So, if your son says my son says he's a surgeon, like, fine. Bit expensive, but I mean, what's wrong with that? Is there something wrong with that? You know? Like, if you live in a country where, you know, gender reassignment surgery is expensive, like America, obviously that's going to put economic holiday. But if imagine if it wasn't, you know, if you lived in a country that didn't have that because you weren't, evil and insane. The point is inherently is that you don't make this argument because it's just a bad argument. Like,
it's not necessarily accepting, it's more of letting them explore.
Yeah.
It's more of them giving them an option
Yeah.
to find themselves.
Yeah, and inherently it's like, well, you know, first of all, with gender,
I
I
have
think that's
twins.
reckless.
I have twins, and
well,
twin girls, and they're 5 now, and at 2.5, one of them didn't want to wear dresses anymore. She
well, I mean, that's fair. Fucking dresses.
was like adamant about it at 2.5, and I'm like, whoa, this is power.
Yeah, because they're fucking annoying. Like, also, some clothing, I really feel like maybe parents should just think about the clothing they give to the children at times, because at times it's just really, really concerning.
Powerful, and
you know, it's like, yeah, I think it's fair if your child doesn't want to wear that, because you know, you shouldn't give that to any child or any person.
we went with it. We wanted her to
It's like that's the thing. Like, I don't think dresses are really great anyway.
to explore that. We wanted to make sure that she felt comfortable in her own skin on what she was wearing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to put that on her and make sure that, you know, she has this femininity that maybe she doesn't feel like she has.
Also, inherently, it's creepy if you force a 2-year-old to dress in a certain way. It's like, oh God, do you want to give a 2-year-old an impression of femininity? Okay, that's, oh God, feels like you're gonna get strange pedophile vibes off of that. You know, if you start forcing a child to wear a clothing store, like, no, you're a child. Your parents shall decide. Yeah, this is what you'll be wearing now. This is what the parents have decided now. No, let child wear it.
You know, that's not saying that she's gay or she's lesbian or anything. She just doesn't like dresses.
Yeah.
I would agree with
And
you.
to this day, she's 5 and she still doesn't wear dresses.
And she might
is
like dresses
happy.
in a couple of years. She might change her mind and
Yeah.
actually like dresses.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, but
And that's her choice.
Exactly.
I have a question. It's personal to you because I don't know if I heard it correctly. Did you say you were adopted?
I was.
Okay, you had adopted parents. Do you think
They're
that
the only parents I recognize as my parents,
Okay.
but I was adopted.
do you
yes.
do you think that their willingness to be, let's just use the word liberal in acceptance and you wanting to do the things that you do is because they are your adopted parents and maybe
Absolutely
that they felt this obligation that they want to be closer to you?
Absolutely not. I'm the only one adopted in my family, and my mom and dad actually do not believe in my lifestyle, and they're unapologetic for that, and I respect
I mean,
it because everybody has to believe in what they believe in.
yeah, but the reason you believe in something does kind of affect it.
So even though they don't believe that my lifestyle is necessarily of God or of their faith, we can still come to terms and love each other and be with each other because I'm not my thoughts and my parents aren't their thoughts either. We're bigger than that, and they have the right to believe what
Right.
they
So
believe.
you
On
said
that
you're-
note, move on to the next
ahead.
prompt.
I mean, believe what you want to believe. That's dodgy, you know. You will have fascists.
It's best for a child to have a mother and a father.
Best, statistically speaking, interestingly, it's generally best to have 2 parents, but I think that's more like obviously the more parents the merrier, almost, you know. Like, obviously to a certain extent, at a certain point it's like, no, that's just so many parents in Charles. Anyone's gonna have people, like, oh, that's a lot of people. But you know what I mean? Like, it's more like the more the merrier. Like, the more people there are to support you financially, the more people there are who can be around you, the more people who are there to support you, you know, the better, you know? So it's more like that. I'm not saying, like, just to make this clear, I'm not, like, shitting on single parents or anything. I'm just saying, like, it's almost like, well, you want to have 3 parents, that kind of thing. But it's actually, but the interesting statistic is that, it's that queer parents actually are, on average, better. Their children are happier. Just to put that out there, just to say, that's just the thing there. So, little fact. Now, you might make the argument of, well, in the current society, you know, there will be obviously less opportunities oftentimes for queer persons to adopt. There is discrimination, and there is discrimination in, like, things like, you know, stereotypes and stuff like that. So, you know, there's all stuff like that where it's, you know, you can make that argument. So you went there and it would average out if you let everyone. But regardless, you know, let's continue.
I'm gonna set this one down.
I mean,
You thought about that one for a second. I like that.
I did. I
Yeah.
had to think about that for a second.
Well,
I mean,
I think it's kind of obvious, right? For a plethora of reasons, but I think
could you explain that?
the ordered way is, you know, a mother and a father for two different people that have two different and distinct
Jesus, you come off as a patriarch.
purposes. We all know mothers are just inherently better at nurturing.
Not really true. Not really true. It's like, you know, it's just not really true.
They provide life. They
Yeah,
give life. And
yeah, they give birth to life, but you also kind of give life.
I think both of those
sort of roundabout way.
two
It's like kind of like a scientist gives life when they, you know, inject. Well, they don't even give life. They inject a bunch of cells into something. Like technically, they didn't give life. The life already existed, but they kind of assisted in connecting cells together and fuming them together. Like, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. You know. So while they didn't give life as such, but neither, of course, did the mother either really give life. It's already alive, you know. Everything. It's a funny thing there. It's like people ignore the fact that like fetuses and eggs are alive to begin with, you know. Like eggs and sperm are alive to begin with. They're not like unalive and then suddenly they fuse together and suddenly it's alive. No, it's actually, you know, they're alive beforehand as well. So, you know.
distinct roles are absolutely important and integral to child development, I think.
Yeah, I can speak to my own experience. I had two parents in the home, very loving, and it was really vital to have a masculine figure and also a feminine figure. I think if you have too much of either, that can affect you in negative ways as a kid.
But what happens if you've got like a typically masculine dad and a typically feminine dad? Then you've got your thing there. This whole attitude. The problem is when you have an attitude of gender, it's like, well, no. What if the mother you have then is very masculine and so is your father? You know, you've got a mother and a father, but apparently they don't fit your criteria. In what criteria exactly does a mother and a father, as like the gender of the gender of the woman and the gender of the man? In what scenario do those two genders need to be in place that those genders could not be met by a theoretical father, mother, or maybe just like, you know, if someone is non-binary or something, then they don't either, you know? That's the thing there. Like, it just doesn't fit into that.
The problem that I have with the same-sex
Jesus
parenting is that when you have a same-sex couple that has a child, they're necessarily depriving that child of a mother and the father.
And the father? It's just like all same-sex couples are, you know, famously, you know, neither a mother or a father or in between. They're just something else. Like, I don't see how that's a thing because, well...
And they're excluding a parent in one of those important roles from the child. And we have a lot of data on this. Social scientists have tons of studies and research about this.
Yeah, that queer parents are better parents.
Decades. That non-biological parents are more transitory.
Oh, God. By the way, pretty information. Technically speaking, a gay couple can have a child, like from both of them. So they would be actually biological parents. I'm just making the point that a father and a father could be parents of a child. Like they may be fully biologically parents. Or maybe only one of them is biological parent. But the point is, like... You know, like it's just, you know. Also, the whole argument of like, well, like what happens when the child doesn't know? You know, like if you just do not tell a child, does that make a difference? Maybe, but you know. But that gets beyond the point. The point is though that you know, it just gets.
In biological parents, that when a child loses.
But like I think this is the problem though. It's that people who are homophobic tend to almost sometimes just like accidentally also shove other people on the bus. Like, yeah, this study's been done. Actually, studies have been done to show that queer parents are better. So I think what you're actually looking at studies that have been done on adopted people. So, which is dodgy at best.
Apparent that there's a lot of trauma involved.
No shit, buddy.
And so I think it's important to realize that sexes are different and children.
Dodgy.
Need models for both of those things.
I would disagree with almost everything he's just
And
said.
it isn't to say that homosexuals can't love and commit. And it's also not to say that heterosexuals can't be bad parents. I think
Of course they can. It's just like almost every single bad person on this planet has come out of a heterosexual relationship. Just they may not be heterosexual, but they have come out of a heterosexual relationship almost all of the time.
we know that as well. But it is to say that we shouldn't set up a system in which children are intentionally put in homes that are fatherless or motherless.
But the point is, though, is that when you say, oh, these are the categories of a woman, these are the categories of a man, and then you go, okay, fatherless or motherless. But the thing is, then I can make the argument of, yes, surely I am not, I may not be a woman, but I can be motherly according to what you've just described there. Because if you say, well, this is the way a mother is, well, no, actually. A mother could be very, 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 according to your masculine idea. So it doesn't really work with what you've just said there. You know, this is just a kind of an incorrect sort of understanding of mother and father.
That isn't fair to the child. I feel like same-sex parents adopting are thrusting the child into their lifestyle
Oh, God.
instead of realizing and asking the better question, which is,
Can I ask you, what's going on with a straight parent, though? So is a straight parent not shoving their child into the lifestyle? What happens if the child is gay? Do you just allow that, then?
what is best for that child?
Yeah, fuck off.
And I hear the side that we will be good parents.
No, and statistically, we'll be better parents than you, Aldo.
But no man can be a mother, and no woman can.
That's not really true, though, according to what you've just said. This is the fucking problem I have with people. Like, if your issue is you've just described gender roles, you just said these are the gender roles, but those gender roles don't match, you know? And I've just explained to you, well, obviously you can't hear me, so, you know, I hope. So the thing is, if we have a mother who is very feminine, but also her father is very feminine, then you've just had there two people who have typical, you know, women gendered roles, you know? So technically, yes, legally speaking, and, you know, and like everything that they are both, like, you know, they're a man and a woman, but according to your stereotypical gender roles, they're both mothers in a sort of like a gender role way, you know? So legally they're not, and, you know, all that, but that's just, I'm just saying, you know?
Can be a father. And even if you are the best same-sex couple in the world, you still are necessarily denying that child a parent. And I believe that children have rights, and that the most important right is a right to a mother and a father.
Yeah.
And they have that right by virtue of being...
I mean, was it him who brought up the whole thing of, like, if you lose a parent? So, you know.
brought into this world by those two people.
Yeah, but the point is, if you have, you know, just...
I also want to add on to that because, like, you touching on, like, the masculinity and the femininity. The thing is, you can only display so much masculinity and femininity. The thing is, like, it doesn't matter if you're a biological woman and you're trying to exert as much masculinity as possible. At the end of the day, a child
What?
is going to grow up in a same-sex household, and they're going to go to school and then see that other parents.
Sorry, what? Oh, okay. So I'm just not really getting what they're trying to say here. It's sort of a dodgy one, you know. It feels sort of dodgy. You know, like
Have a father figure, a mother figure, and they're going to grow up and start, and just all this stuff about
I'm
same-sex
really
couples, like gender, all this stuff's going to come to them at a very young age. They're one-dimensional.
sorry. The
They're
children
not
are
going to take it in the same way.
the children are one of them. Not really. You know, unless like they're like your man who thought he was a pirate. Like thought he was a pirate, not had a vivid imagination that she thought he was.
That we do. So I just feel like from a very young
Yeah, but from a very young age, children understand. Like, I remember when I was like 4, I remember like this is like very clearly explained like same-sex relationships. So like, that's a fairly young age. So like, you know, let's not talk about this bullshit. You know, if you're gonna learn about straight relationships, you're gonna learn about gay relationships too. Like, let's just be honest. Inherently, you're creating this argument of, oh, we can't. They wouldn't learn about that. They couldn't understand that, but apparently they can understand straight relationships though. You know, like when I was very young, I learned about my my teacher having a child. You know, You know, it was like, oh yeah, sorry, and all that stuff, and they was like, yeah, I don't know about that. Very young, you know. That's me learning about sex in a way. You know, it's just saying you learn about all these things from a straight perspective, so it's just this weird sort of pushback when it becomes like a not straight relationship. It's like, oh, but it's fine for the straight. Okay.
Age would confuse the kid.
No, it wouldn't though. That's the problem. It's this total misunderstanding of like, well, you do learn, and they're even saying it. They're even saying you learn about straight relationships. So like,
Couples like gender grow up and start.
so
and
what do you mean now?
Other parents have a father figure, a mother figure, and they're gonna grow up and start, and just all this stuff about same-sex couples, like gender, all this stuff's gonna come to them at a very young age. They're one-dimensional. They're not gonna take it
Children are not one-dimensional. Actually, they can understand very amount of things. You know, so that's
in the same way that we do.
that.
So
Yeah, you're more fucking ignorant.
I just feel like from a very young age, it would confuse the kid.
But that's you. You totally misunderstood though. You
I was raised by a single mother, and so I was raised
yes.
by all women. So
One is it?
like I was saying before, you know, I do hair. I grew up in salons. I grew up, you know, watching my mom getting her eyebrows waxed, and I was always, you know, masculine as a
Typical,
young
yeah.
boy. But the validation and the insecurities just continued to grow as I became older. As far as working and being committed to something and finishing a task, those were areas that I lacked in. But one area that I knew about.
What? What exactly are you arguing here? Okay, this feels dodgy. I don't know why the age it's off.
And was so familiar about was women. But as far as having a man say, hey,
what?
This is actually what the woman is for.
Oh God, this is going off as really, really creepy.
She's not to be your plaything. She's
Okay, that's far better than I thought he was gonna say. That's far better than I thought he was gonna say. Wow, for a second there I thought that was gonna go really. Okay.
actually a valued person.
Okay, thank God. I thought that was gonna go the other way. My God. Woo.
With emotions and standards and morals and values, and this is how you should, you know, treat a woman.
Yeah, that middle. Thank you for the middle section, because if you just cropped out that middle section, wow, that would have been the perfect like insult.
And so to have a father in my life would have kept me from doing a ton of stuff that ended up hurting me emotionally later.
Did you have your
on, causing a lot of trauma, you know. So now that I have a son, I hug him and give him that masculine.
I just feel though like that could be, you know, explained to you by a woman, you know. I just feel like that doesn't really need a man. And if you feel like you need a man, that's more about you, doesn't it? Kind of just makes me feel
if you would say, you know, emotional embrace, you know. And I think that's important. You can't just get that from one or the other or the same sex. I believe it can only come from a mother and a father.
Yeah, but inherently, like, this is inherently the point, which is, now, all of these arguments could work as the thing if you said, okay, this is a quality you can only get from masculine people, and this is a quality you can only get from feminine people. The problem is, you can have a masculine woman and a feminine woman, and you can have a masculine man and a feminine man. So inherently, with your typical masculine definitions, they don't work as a thing because they're not actually locked into one gender. They are inherently fluid amongst them, you know? So, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I also, not only is it, you know, as a Christian,
oh God,
it's not biblical to represent that to our children, but I don't think.
I mean, you should read the Bible more, like the old Bible, if you want to be honest. Seem like a lot of Americans are just fucking ignorant.
It's a sustainable model either. If you're
Oh
looking at
God.
from that perspective, like if we're going to normalize same-sex households, we will have a very difficult reproduction issue down the line.
I don't think you may realize this, but first of all, a child, you know, if they're born from a same-sex, and it is both genders, then no, we fucking won't. And also, this may come as a shock to you, but there really aren't enough same-sex people on this planet to become couples. Like, even if every single same-sex person got into a couple, it wouldn't cause, because it's like it's not that small in grand scheme of things, but it's a relatively small section of the population. That makes no fucking sense. It's like, yeah, it would cause a reproduction issue, except no, it wouldn't actually. It just wouldn't. Also, all those children that like people who are anti-abortion but are also are unable, and they or unable or do not want to take care of a child will be like, well, I want to adopt it out. So is it not good to have people there to be ready to take that child? Because you've just said you need to have, like, they had a person who was a single parent there, and they felt like they needed to have that figure. So, like, surely isn't it not better to have that person to take care of that child, if you agree with the rest of them?
Think if every single family suddenly became a single sex.
But that's not the point, though. They just couldn't, because that's not, like, if every single family became a same sex, that would be like Xing the number of same sex people by like 5. No, not 5. Actually, no, sorry, by like 4. They could be like timesing it by 4. Suddenly, there's 4 times as many same sex people. Oh god.
Household.
And then there's the whole thing of like, well,
The reason why mammals have a
mammals.
male and a female and they reproduce. That's just the.
No, not really. Good few mammals are able to change gender, and along with that, and to like change sex, and along with that, they also change reproductivity. Humans have a lot of them. The majority of them have not mastered the ability to do that, but they are still able to obviously have the two different things there. But that's the thing. So the thing is, if we're gonna make this a lookout here, we can see that in actual fact, mammals actually are able to shift into like, some mammals are able to actively shift into production wise, like they shift into the way they produce. So not really factually accurate, and I don't know why you chose mammals as well. Animals are, mammals are not really. They're just a subcategory of animals. They're not really an actual thing. Like, they're just a subcategory. It's not like all people who, like, I don't know what
that's the way we're built. That's the way we're built biologically and from God.
Okay, I mean, do you believe in the theory of evolution, or did you do not? Because I wonder.
I don't agree with most of the shit you guys said, but I do agree.
Yeah, because a lot of it's fucking nonsense. Like, yeah, from God. I feel like religion's always a dodgy thing, because a lot of Christians, and especially your old school kind of like Catholics, don't really bother to read into what the Bible says. For example, Jesus wasn't really too approving about the kind of wealth gathering people did. So if you want to be honest, you can't really be a super capitalist. You can be somewhat capitalist, but you can't be super capitalist. You can't be acquiring all this stuff and call yourself a Christian, because you're not. You're just picking and choosing from your religion. So when you decide, oh, this is what I think my religion, you are choosing, and you're picking and choosing from your religion. Like, I adhere to some of the texts of, Judaism, of Christianity, of all these things, but I'm not going to call myself Buddhist or Muslim or Jewish or Christian, because I am not adhering to every single thing from that text, and that is not my holy text, And that's why I don't call myself a Christian, because I don't adhere to everything. I adhere to some stuff, I adhere to some stuff from other religions as well, but I don't adhere to everything. And you do kind of need to adhere to everything, otherwise, what are you doing with just sort of loosely kind of following some of the rules? You're just picking and choosing then. And then it's not really religion, it's just a rule book you want others to follow, and you like to be in a group. Like, it's just not accurate there, So, that kind of thing. So effectively, I'm just saying your one is not really a Christian in a way. She's just fucking making this,
about balance.
making up her.
Okay, I am a queer mother of a 14-year-old male, and I believe that he definitely benefits from a male in his life as well as me in his life. Now, the thing that you guys really aren't touching on is that most queer families are not just the deficit of the opposite sex. There's a lot of extended family. Like, I make sure that my son has lots of male influence because I know, like what you're talking about is 1,000% true, especially in the Black community. The destruction of the Black household is just a whole different conversation. But because I know that, it is my responsibility to make sure he's got a strong male influence or a few of them in his life.
I do think it is inherently problematic to say male and then just list a bunch of typically masculine characteristics, which could be attributed to a woman. Like, just doesn't make much sense.
Now, if they're not a father, they can be a father figure. I'm adopted, so I don't necessarily agree with everything you said about the biology of family, because I believe the only thing that's real in this world is love. And I do believe anybody can love and fortify a child a beautiful environment. But I do believe a child does benefit from male and female energy, and that is best.
But the whole problem is that when you say male or female, that doesn't really work as a concept when you're talking about, well, yeah, that's just societal gender structures. Now, you could make the argument, however, that society will mean that even though the child is experiencing, the typical masculine traits and the typical feminine traits you've just described, that will actually be a problem because society will be like, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be structured. So then that'll negatively affect them. But that's more about society as a whole, what rules society makes, and not really about the actual relationship in that sense, if you know what I mean.
So I disagree, clearly. Being a two-male household with two little girls, like you were saying, I have a lot of strong women in my life and in my husband's life. And, we make sure that they are a part of our lives, they are a part of our girls' lives, that they know them very well, that they feel comfortable with them. And I have even told them at 5 years old, if you don't feel comfortable ever coming to me about any kind of situation, you have your aunt, you have your grandma, you have...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
have these awesome, amazing women in your life that you can talk to, and you should feel...
No, that's also the way if you don't really feel like you want to talk to your... Like, even in a double same-sex relationship, when you have a cis mom and a cis father, it's like, yeah, you maybe one of them is a bit, not necessarily very savory, so you might want to talk to someone else.
Open about it.
Do you really think that it's your extended family's job, as like you mentioned, like strong female figures? Do you think it's their job for them to parent your own kid?
They're not parenting; they're giving like advice and stuff. So you're not. See, this is the problem. People are just kind of ignorant about parenting. Is just it's
but they're not parenting.
Not
it's
at all.
just an influence.
We were talking about like extended relatives, but what about immigrant families where all of your extended relatives are in a different country, a different time zone?
We have the internet.
It doesn't
have to be family.
Yeah, and I have to say,
So it can be like
Chosen family.
It can be chosen family. It's just some.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's accurate. There's a whole thing of like, oh, auntie, whatever. It's like they're not actually, your aunt in any like functional way. Like, they aren't treated by either your parents as a sister or anything. It's just like they're an aunt to you in a way, but they're not like the sister of either of your parents, or any parents like that. That's, you know what I mean? It's just kind of, in a way, it's just the thing that people do,
Woman or some man in your life that has a relationship with that child, and it's not their job to parent, but it's their job to maybe step in and give that. Like, I know for me, I have two dads and I have strong female figures in my life. They never parented me, but sure, I know that they're there if I need them. I mean, when I got my period, I went to my dad's. I didn't want to go to any woman because they're my parents and they made me feel loved. And I had never ever once wanted a mom, sought a mom, thought I was missing something because I didn't have a mom, and I'm sick and tired of people telling me that I am missing something because I'm just not.
It's because you didn't have it.
It's like you can't miss what you didn't have, except that doesn't really work though if you can see it, like it's not like things that you can't, like, you can see things in society. Like if you see, a private airplane, you might want a private airplane. You've never had a private airplane. It hasn't, no part, and the private airplane hasn't been taken away from you, but you still want one because you can see one, because they exist. So you can see mothers, in this planet. Like, maybe if you live very reclusively, you can't. But, like, in most of society, you can see mothers, you know? Whether they're yours or not. So, you know, by the way, for the private plane thing, don't get a private plane. Private planes are awful for the environment, and they really make you to be a really, really, really concerning person.
Yeah, but do you feel like you're missing something, or you're not missing having two dads because you didn't have it?
Well, no, that's not what we're talking about, because what happened. No,
But the
because
thing is that if you have two dads, really that's double, you know? Double, great stuff, you know?
what happens is
You're missing out then.
well, because I don't have two dads.
I hear
Like, what
yes,
is that?
ma'am. But I hear
No, hold on, because we all know, you know this, and I know this. There's this bond that a mother and child have that nobody
Not necessarily.
can replace.
I mean, replace maybe, but like, there's not necessarily a problem with every single mother and their child. Just saying, I mean, you know, mothers aren't always, you know, typically, interestingly enough, you know, it's this thing which is a very good argument that you say like it's
another dad. I don't care if it's aunt. I don't care if it's a grandmother.
The thing is, though, is that would occur maybe if, let's say, you're, you know, 5 years old and your mother is, you know, is blown to pieces by the American army, right? Maybe you're 5 years old, maybe even younger, but when you have for the semblance of your entire childhood, and maybe even during your childhood, have had this family group, then that doesn't really occur, because that isn't like you had something and now it's gone and something is replacing it. That is, in essence, nothing happened. There was not a mother figure for you, you know? Also, what if it's your mom's? Anyway, but obviously his response is to that thing, so anyway, that's kind of fair. Anyway, but the point is, inherently, it's just like, that doesn't function if there's no replacement going on. Like, in that scenario where the mother's been blown up by the American army, sure, maybe. But that's because you've experienced that, and now that's gone, and something else is trying to replace it. But when nothing is trying to replace it, and you're literally just building something, then that's, yeah.
Wrong. There was a study done showing that the fathers formed the same biological connection.
Studies mean nothing to me.
I want to hear him out.
That's kind of, you know, interesting, because
I want to hear this guy out right here.
Listen,
What's he saying?
You saying that I've never cared about having a mom, it never bothered me, I have two dads, they're great. You're saying that because you don't have your mother, which kills me. That kills me to think that you never knew her.
You. It doesn't kill me.
That is wild. What if her biological mom, let's just say her biological mom was a drug addict, a prostitute, like my biological mom, that did not hold me the first 3 months. I'm not missing her, hon.
That's a
I'm not
horrible
missing
reality.
her.
We're not
That's a
talking about
hypothetical
best case
that doesn't make
scenario.
sense.
We're talking about optimal
But this is a real life scenario.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter anyway, because you're not replacing anything, you're just building on the thing. As I said already, if it's 5 years old, maybe you can make the argument, but you can't not make the argument when it's like, well, it's just active society, you know?
This is a real life scenario. I don't miss that comfort.
But you don't know that because you don't know her.
But you don't know that because you're not me.
Exactly.
So
But
you can't speak for other queer.
Yeah.
Tell them what they're missing.
First of all,
You
I
can't tell them what
don't
they're
even know what
missing.
queer means, because you have a different definition. I'm sure you have a different.
Okay, buddy, you don't know what it means? Okay, that's dodgy.
Different definition. I'm sure you have one, and I'm sure you have one, and I'm sure you have one.
It's 2022, baby. You better look up what queer means. It's often used awful.
So you guys,
awful
so
lot
hold on. You
now.
guess have the exact same definition
no,
of what a queer person is.
I get the definition from schooling, from academia.
Okay. I don't think any part of the conversation really bothered me so much. I think the one thing that I wish I could have nailed down was a clear definition of what being queer is. I understand that each person, and I actually said it, each person probably has his or her own definition. You know, the same way if they asked us what a conservative was, we probably would have had a definition for it, but I just...
Well, no, actually, conservative does have an active definition of it. You know, it's actually just a definition, because it is a political ideology, so... You know, you might say, oh, this is what conservative is. But what you're saying is, oh, I am a conservative, and this is what I also am. But that's not really what a conservative is. That's more like what you are. And you're saying, well, I'm good, you know.
Wish that, you know, that definition...
A lot of conservatives in America are, United States of America, that is, are actually kind of a little bit more right-wing than conservatives, because the way the Democrat and the Republicans are set up, Democrats are actually conservatives, but Republicans are like more right-wing than conservative. But then conservatives will go, well, I'm a Republican, but in actual fact, if you were like, oh, you're a conservative, you'd be voting Democrat, because Democrats are the typical conservative line. But because the Republicans are also the typical conservative line, they're just a little bit more right-wing than conservative, then you could also say, as a conservative, oh, I would... basically, what I'm saying is, as a conservative, you could vote Republican or Democrat. It doesn't really matter either way, because they're practically speaking both conservative. I would say Democrat is a little bit more on the conservative button than Republican Party. Republican Party is a little bit more right-wing than that. But, you know.
Would have helped me
A
frame
little bit more
maybe
fast, a
some of
little
my
bit more
questions a little bit better that I had. Yeah. I'm talking about you guys right here.
But you guys, we're all the same here, honey.
No,
We're all human beings.
No,
with
equality
blood
is a
running
false
through us.
god.
We're all
Equality
the
is
same
a false
people,
god.
honey.
What the fuck is that?
Not all the same. He's black. I'm mixed.
Okay.
White.
Wow.
Okay, that just has got a bit. Okay.
White. We're
You
not
don't
the
know
same.
oh my God. Whatever you characterize me is a very small bit.
Yeah, and also, I don't like. Do you understand, buddy? This is a little thing to all the racists out there. You know that white people are racist because people aren't white. Can I explain this to you? If you're white, right? Imagine we plop you and someone who is, you know, close to the Diamond Mountain into a desert, right? And there's a blistering hot sun. Who's going to be the first to get skin cancer? It's going to be the white person. So, well, who is better in that scenario? Biologically. I think it's the person who's got a little bit more defense. That's just a small little thing to all the racists out there. If you're white, you're just kind of worse. If we want to break it down. You're just worse. Anyway, just a side thing I just want to explain to all the racists out there. Sorry, but you're just worse. Anyway, basically, trying to make this argument, I think I just like to point out, though, that we are actually effectively all the same. You know, we have one human race. You know, when we talk about, you know, biological differences, there's small biological differences, yes, but, you know, that is an argument to be made there. With 8 billion humans, I'd say there's probably a good few who are the same with 8 billion, but also there probably are a few original people who there's no one like them. But obviously, if we want to break down things to the smallest level, DNA, atoms, yeah, everyone is different. But also, we're very very in the grand scheme of things.
Of me, because you don't know me. I can't judge
Exactly,
you.
so I wouldn't assume to say that that me and you were the same.
Beings.
We
We're all
even,
human
inequality
beings.
is what actually makes everything good. I mean, we were just,
What the fuck?
just talking about how, you know, that somebody in your life, like an aunt, is filling the role of the mother.
I didn't say filling the role.
But you said
I did not
some
say
woman.
filling the
A
role.
mother is not
I
some
do not
woman.
put
A
words
mother
in my
is
mouth.
a mother,
Correct,
and no
I don't
matter
have a mother.
Okay.
who
I
you
have
are.
some women who I can go to if I need them, and they're
And she's not missing out on a mother because she doesn't have one, and nobody should be able to tell her that.
Of course, she
is
has a
missing
mother. She just doesn't have a relationship.
Okay, that's not necessarily true, actually. And that's just not actually true. I'm just saying, like, 2 men can have a child. You know? That's just an objective fact. Like, a man can have a child, yeah.
I didn't have my father my whole entire, childhood. From the age of 22 until now, I have a good relationship with my father. I was missing something. I didn't really have a great relationship with my mother. My mother never talked to me, never said 2 words to me. I had absolutely nobody. So to say that, oh, I don't need a
But
mom.
being raised by a single parent
not-
and being
it's
raised
not
by
about- but
a
it's-
two-parent household, foundationally,
it's not about
economically,
that. It's not
spiritually,
about that,
it is
because at the
about
end of the
that.
day-
Also, I think there's an issue with saying, like, if you've got a very loving parent, or a parent who isn't very loving, there's a difference in that too.
It is about
At the end of the day, I don't want my household to be a free-for-all for anybody and everybody to come with their political views, their religious views. If I say I don't want my daughter to have sex before marriage, I don't want
That's up to them, I think.
my best
Who maybe you can advise. You can advise who don't have sex before marriage. You can advise all that, and you may even be like, "This is very important advice. I would definitely advise you to take. This is very important." All this, but demanding and saying you do not want that feels as if you're gonna have issues.
best friend, Susie, to come and say,
Absolutely not.
You
gotta pick your
Why do you think that's what my house?
Are you doing the voice?
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking
Absolutely, I
about
agree.
my
I
household.
agree 1,000%.
I'm not talking about you. I don't know about your situation. What I'm saying is, as far as me and my house, I'm not going to let everybody, whether I love them. I understand what you guys are saying about
As you
love.
shouldn't.
Trust
As
me.
you
I understand
shouldn't.
what you guys are saying about love, and I agree.
And it'd be
children need
heterosexual.
love, but also children need order.
Absolutely.
So therefore, in a same-sex
Shouting over people.
house, the natural order is being
Fucking Christ, boy. Jesus Christ. He's just a fucking homophobe, isn't he?
stripped away. I'm not saying you don't love your daughters. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the order. You love your two dads? That's great. They support you, they love you, they do things for you, they provide for you. That's amazing. But you're missing the substance of order.
What is the order, though?
That can help guide you
That is objectively bullshit.
Can I
in
speak?
different directions.
Can I
Yes.
speak,
No, I mean, it's not like actual, you know what I mean? Like, it's figurative, actually, you know.
please? What am I missing? Pinpoint exactly what I am missing.
A mother.
And how. Right. What am I missing from that?
Fundamental difference between a mother and a father.
Yeah, no, there isn't, though. There isn't, though. You know? There just fucking isn't. You just decided that, oh, this is how society's mothers should be, and this is how society's fathers should be. Look, there's a difference between the two. Yes, but it just so happens that this father is very much like your definition of a mother. And, you know, they may not be a woman, but they match every other aspect. You know? And this other father matches every single aspect of man. So you've we just feel this. The only thing they're missing is the fact that one of them is not a woman. Or in the flip side, one of them is not a man. But they fill in, one fits into the motherly role, one fits into the fatherly role. You've now filled in that thing there. That is, and even if they don't fit into that, even if they're both, you know, typical feminine, typical masculine thing, even if one of them is, both of them fit into the motherly aspect or both of them fit into the fatherly aspect, it doesn't really matter anyway, because the point is, but anyway, I'm just saying, inherently, it's just societally, you just can't really say, oh, the one thing you're missing is that you're a woman, or the one thing you're missing is that you're not a man. Like, it's just problematic in that way.
Okay, so what can you point to in me?
Look,
I
that
don't
would
know
be
you.
different
I don't know you.
because-
That's why I asked the
can
question
say this.
originally.
I can say this. We don't know you personally.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Yeah.
we say that you're missing something from not having a mother, you're missing guidance in different
You know fuck all.
ways. Anybody
What?
can
Where?
look. Anybody can fabricate emotion. I have 2 daughters. I can go to my daughter and I can play Barbies with my daughter.
Yeah?
Puts on her dresses. I'll be the king. She's the princess, and I can get on the ground crawl. I can make myself be feminine enough for me and her to have a good time.
Yeah, but are you feminine in the typical sense as a person?
But the real femininity
Yeah,
can
but
only
if you were as feminine as her mother, would you say that then they have something missing? Would you say your child has something missing if the father is as feminine as the mother? Which, by the way, works in both ways, because, you know, and when I say feminine, I do mean, I don't really like using these terms because inherently they are problematic. It's, you know.
They come from her mother.
You're
I can
wild.
only
You're
do
wild.
so
Wait,
much.
wait, wait,
That's why I have a question.
Stop. Real
Wild.
quick. We need to move on in just a moment. We haven't heard from Brittany or Alexa.
I think it's really important to realize that it takes a village. It takes a village to raise children.
Well,
So with Elizabeth,
it takes a village to raise children that are in, like, a town or a village or anything larger. You know.
coming from a 2-parent household, which was a big topic for the agreeers here, a 2-parent household, I don't think she's missing on anything. I raise my children with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter knows no different. You know, she is not missing anything. Neither is my son.
Do you think one day they will?
Absolutely not.
I have a question. I don't know how to ask this question. Was it like, were you with a male when you had your daughter?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So I guess my question is more so for people for queer people who adopt children.
Okay.
Is there a agenda connected to it to purposely, for the sake of society, community, you know, to adopt children into your home to prove a point?
Okay, this is just, oh God.
I think that's
I guess I
what
could say
causes.
the
I
same
think that's
thing for
what
you,
causes
though.
the problem.
If you're having a kid for a political agenda, you should not be a parent.
I wonder why
Yeah.
white folks adopt black kids all the time. You always see white families adopt black children from Africa, and I'm
Is ethically speaking concerning. It's like, you adopted them, did you? Wow. I wonder how ethical that is. That's that's
like, why can't you adopt, a little white kid?
When you look at television, when you look at reality TV, I feel, just from what I'm seeing, I don't go off of statistics and data. That's a bunch of
Can be, but it can also be reliable.
BS. I go off of what I see.
Reality TV. I go off what I see, what the producers tell the people to do.
When Homeboy has said that he doesn't believe in data or statistics, I don't think it was a subtle eye roll. I definitely got whiplash.
How else do you make a point that is professional and mature if you're not citing data and you're not citing research and you're calling it all bullshit? That's
To be fair, some data is BS. It's BS because it's intended to be BS. You know, sure you could fuck up a scientific study, but you can't really fuck up a scientific study that's been checked multiple times. I mean, it's rare. It just happens, but it's very rare. You know. But the thing with statistics is you can definitely fuck it up intentionally. It's relatively easy to do, actually.
scrapped all of his credibility for me. You're talking about kids.
But inherently, when you say in general, that's where it becomes a problem, because not in general.
Of gay parents, and you're saying that they're all these things, and I, the person you're talking about, I'm sitting here telling you you're wrong,
Yeah.
and you're still interrupting me, and you're still invalidating me, and you're still telling me that your opinion must be right, even though you're not in my shoes. That was really shocking.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to some earlier points. We've been talking a lot about what is natural, what is order. I'd like to say that there are many, many studies of over 1,500 non-human species of animals that they parent in their species children that are not biologically theirs. I also don't think that reproduction is the end-all be-all of what a family is to be.
Yeah, it's super creepy if it is, because that makes it seem like you're just focused on breeding, which is just incredibly concerning.
You're allowed to have your own biblical beliefs. I totally understand that and respect that. What you're talking about with sustainability, I'm not suddenly going to tell all the straight people to suddenly partner up with people of the same sex and no longer reproduce. It
wouldn't work anyway.
It's a minority.
Unless you had unless you had four? It'd be about. Okay, no, I think it'll be at 8, roughly, to 1. She's like, yeah.
Of people that are queer that do want to have children, and I just think that they should be allowed to have children, and I don't think that they are depriving the children of anything, because I think the foundation of what a family should be is to provide a child with love and support and raise them into respectable, upstanding citizens. I think it's important to have masculine energy, to have feminine energy, to have any other energy that there is. I just don't think that that is necessarily the job of the parents to incorporate these gender roles into it.
Are we able to qualify something before the next one?
May I respond to Elizabeth?
Nope. Reset. Reset.
Okay, I feel like Jubilee, maybe you want to be more careful.
I think we all do.
It's necessary for parents to have open dialogue about sex with their children.
Man, hell no.
Yeah. I think it is, yeah. It depends. Yeah, but also, even if you see it depends, you should still go down there just to be.
I do believe it's necessary, but I believe you have to do it at an appropriate age.
What age?
But once they're ready, then I think
When are they ready? Different children are ready different times.
you should have those.
Trust me on that one. Different children are ready different times. I know children who were ready when they were in primary school, which in my country is like 0, like 4, maybe even 3, to like 12. Other children were not, let's just say, ready for
Those
a good
conversations,
while.
so that they don't have to go
And I mean, they really, really weren't.
outside the family for that information. I never felt comfortable going to my parents at all, or my mom. I never felt comfortable
That's a shame. Well,
going to her. I would like to create a space for my child, which I have, where I hope that no matter what happens in her life, that she feels comfortable going to me at least, and then I will help her, or together we'll determine if she's actually ready for the conversation,
when you start talking about God, that really doesn't help.
and hopefully she is.
I definitely agree with you. I think it's so important to be able to have a dialogue so that kids feel like they can come to you and not necessarily enforcing that you have to come to me for this. One thing is like when it's much younger.
I'm really sorry.
Do you want to talk about it?
I just haven't been told I was raised strong in a long time.
Jesus, yeah. I mean, it is a bit, like seeing people act like that. It's just a bit like just shouting over people and stuff. It's like it's a bit yeah, it's highly concerning to see that. But yeah,
There's just a lot of trauma associated with this. And it's not trauma for my family, it's trauma from people telling me it's wrong. I know my family is right, and I know my family is normal. I didn't know it. I didn't know my family was not normal until other people decided to tell me that.
yeah. I mean, I think some countries think they have a better sort of grasp on this than others, and I think a lot of times they're like they're very. It's just this kind of it is always a bit of a thing with that. Yeah, it's yeah.
And that was nobody else's business to say that.
No one else's business.
Absolutely not.
And this is my biggest fear for my 2 daughters. For me, I feel like I have to prepare them as much as humanly possible for that outside world that can tell you that you're wrong or that your family is wrong.
Yeah, it's a fucked up world.
Because that's one of my biggest fears.
I don't think anybody said wrong,
Oh no, they did basically.
but
They're like, oh, do you don't have a mother in your life? Ha, 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 ha. Like that's so fuck off with that. Like that's like just don't,
A lot of people say
I
it's
grew up
wrong.
in a less than ideal family.
Jesus Christ, you're not making it fucking better, are you?
A less than ideal, I think, is where as
But there was
humans,
nothing
right?
less ideal about her situation.
No, this is what she's
You've completely fucking
hearing, though. This is what she is
what we're all
perceiving that
hearing.
she's
No. This is what she's fucking hearing from those fucking morons. Sorry.
hearing.
Well, I'm
you know?
hearing it too. I'm hearing the invalidation of her family, of the structure. She got
Yeah.
a 2-parent household right now. Most heterosexual families end up in divorce. We don't.
Most? Really?
Also, every single
We don't-
screwed up person I know has a mom and a dad.
We don't end up
Every
divorced.
single screwed up
Valid.
person has a
Valid.
mom and a dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as I've said, like
Nobody royally screwed up with 2 moms and 2 dads. That's that.
And honestly, most gay kids' parents are straight. We come from y'all.
Well,
straight
they all
parents.
have to. Well,
no. No. Where the fuck did you get that idea from? Like, yeah, but they all have to, except
biologically.
Well, no,
no, that's not.
They all
not necessarily. No, not the
Unless
adopted.
you're
No, that's not. That's not true.
having, but
kids
they
with
all
other
came
queer
from a
kids.
straight relationship.
No, they didn't though.
But our
First
parents
of all, relationship. Even if we ignore the existence of trans people, we also have to go ahead and like, oh, it's a relationship now, is it? Well, what do I have surrogacy? Is that a relationship? I guess it's a relationship of sorts, but like, if someone orders a baby online, okay, that's no. I'm just saying, like, if someone has somebody else they don't really know well, artificially inseminated, it's like, yeah, I mean,
are heterosexual.
No, I'm biologically related to one of my dads. My brother is biologically related to the other, and they had us via egg donation and surrogacy.
yeah. See,
So there's still a biological connection in my house.
Yeah.
But and I'm glad I have that connection. But I also have one of my dads who has straight parents was adopted, and it it just biology doesn't necessarily mean anything. And
but even if you ignore that, you can even if you know that it isn't true to say that biologically speaking, because she put it out there, yeah. And then I think there is of course the existence of trans people as well. So if a trans person doesn't if they go to gender reassignment surgery but they don't remove that part, then they can still give birth or still provide.
I wish people would stress it less, because that's where a lot of the hate comes
Or even because you don't even have you've like eggs are freezed or sperm freezed, that sort of thing. Anyway,
from. Is if you're gay, clearly something's wrong. If you have 2 dads, clearly something is wrong with you. And we automatically assume that children like me or people like my parents aren't as good as purely because they're different.
Nobody said that.
No, these fuckers basically did.
No one said it in this room.
No, they kind of did. Those fuckers.
The world says it, and that's not fair.
Let's just
And yeah, sure, the world does that.
take a breath. Just take a moment before we circle back to the prompt, okay?
Yeah, I think we should take a moment, but alright.
Just take a deep breath. Do we feel okay to, yeah? Okay. It's necessary for parents to have open dialogue about sex with their children.
I would also say that from a young age, we can talk about things that are involved with like sex ed, but not explicitly sex. For instance, like consent is a very important topic that I think should be brought up as young as possible.
Yeah.
We mentioned before about the case of you don't have to hug your uncle if you don't want to, or hey, do you want help cleaning that mess up or something? I think those are inherently part of good sex education, but they're not explicitly like about sex.
I think growing up, I didn't have much social media, so like I never like saw this stuff. But I go on Instagram now. Just so many posts, so many stories are just about all these things about sex, consent, and it can really go both ways, right? There's extremes
What?
on both sides, but
No, actually, hate to break it to you, but extreme consent where you ask just to confirm completely is not a bad thing. It's like, yes, extremes where you definitely make sure that you are not raping this person. Yeah, I feel like that is probably a good thing, where you confirm that you have consent a little bit more than you need to. I feel like that's probably preferable to not getting consent, which is just full-on rape. It's
but the age that it starts
extremes on both sides.
you should really just encourage your kid to like. You should tell
Maybe
them
they're talking about something else.
the bare minimum.
What the fuck?
That you should really just encourage your kid to like. You should tell them the bare minimum.
No, you fucking shouldn't. What's this shit? Like, yeah, you should tell them the bare minimum, really. Just make them feel like kind of blind and deserve.
Biological standard, right? There's two biological sexes.
Not true. There's the typical thing is the true, but they're not really true.
Stuff happens, but really let them do their own research.
That is not a good idea.
And encourage them to.
That is not a good idea at all. Because the amount of bullshit you'll get if you... And obviously, that doesn't mean parents are, well educated about it. And this, of course, is the issue. You can make that argument. This is why people do sex education in school, because they're like, do we really trust parents to have this knowledge? Because if people follow this fucking ageist information, all you'll get are parents researching a bunch of bullshit they heard online, parents who are both not aware of the facts, then teach their children the bare minimum, and maybe they'll go, actually, that was a bad idea, certain bare minimum, and then they'll teach their children a bunch of shit. So this is why you do sex education in school, because inherently it's a better idea. You should do it at home as well, obviously. But what I'm saying is people do this in school because, this stupid fucking moron.
Research both sides rather than just like, man, what is your idea?
Are you saying?
Whenever they get social media, whenever they first hear about it and they have any questions about it. So,
but no, is your child gonna ask that question?
I grew up with religious and conservative parents, but they never made it clear that those two parts of my identity were the only things that were to rule my entire lifestyle. So what I mean by that is, growing up, I would hear about politics. Whenever I would ask them a question about it, they never made it clear what their stance on it was, because they wanted me to explore both sides. And I
feel like you did not
ask them questions. They always tell me to explore the thing first. Go on
Google, really.
Google research, go to different sources, and then
that seems.
We can have a discussion once I've really been truly informed. Yeah,
I hate to break it to you, but Googling is not a way to be truly informed. Mostly because, by the way, if you Google on their phone or their device, or even the fact that it's their household, you'll most likely get, outlets that are geared towards you. People really underestimate the amount of information that this website owner has on you. Google has a lot of information on you. Like, a lot of information on you. And even if they don't have information on you, then they have information on all the people around you, So, it's just like, if you're reading off their device, most likely they're going to be feeding you conservative quality stuff.
If we're empowering them to do their own research, they can get into the very wrong sides of doing that research.
Correct.
For instance, most people I know got their sex ed from porn.
That's not a good idea.
And if we're talking about, sex and consent, I don't think anyone in this room is thinking that porn is a great example of sex ed.
Awful.
My son I definitely caught my son watching porn, and he's 14 years old, and it was a conversation.
Jesus Christ.
And I didn't shame him, but if this is already happening, what do I look like coming at him and reprimanding him and telling him this is a boundary, or we don't do this in this house because you're going to go to all this action? It's like, no, this is already happening. So I'm just now finding out about it. So now there's a communication, and we actually had a whole conversation.
I mean, it does depend in which way, because if it's like you discovered that and that's the case, or if you search for it, because those two avenues are two separate things. If you search for it, it's a little bit more concerning. Then you've actually suck it out. Ugh, God. Not a nice word. But if you just receive it, it's, you know, so there's a difference.
About why this isn't real and why this is not okay for you. You're going to be an adult the rest of your life, honey. Be a 14-year-old right now. And he's like, you're right, Mom. Don't worry about it again. You're probably still sneaking and watching porn. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be able to stop that. I'm going to be able to...
I mean, once again, doesn't matter which way that was discovered. If it was searching for it, feels a bit dodgy.
Communicate with them and do the best I can do.
14 and you're searching for that?
See, but that's good, because you told him about this stuff before it got worse. So
Yeah, but that was because they found out, you know. Because they found out that if they hadn't found out, then they wouldn't have been able to, you know. Yeah.
I have a son and a daughter. My son is almost 7. My daughter's 4. So, you know, I don't like to keep that, like, if one's showering, the other's in their room, and vice versa. But one thing I guess I stepped forward for was mostly because we use the word penis. We use the word vagina. I want them to know.
I mean, they're siblings. I hope to God they never get any news about each other like that.
Oh, their anatomy. I want them to know that this is what you have. This is nobody touches this. Nobody sees it other than you. Or like if I'm giving you a shower or helping you wipe your butt, like things like that. You know, I learned about sex from boys being gross in class.
Ugh.
I didn't know how anything...
You know, at times, people say they would like to have capital punishment in their country. And I don't think it's a good idea to have it for murder, to be honest. But for some people, it would be good. Like gross children. Just have, you know, daily executions. It's like, this child was caught being a fucking pedophile. They are a child as well, though, so, you know. But anyway, they shall be dropped into this vat of piranhas. I'm just saying it would make, you know, great entertainment. Although I'm not sure if it would... It probably would break a few laws. But no, that's the thing, though, because I'm not sure if you could broadcast... Very dystopian society would like, yes, we broadcast the executions. We just have to go back to the old doctrine of, like, you know, the town square. We're in town square. Someone will be hung. But obviously with the modern society, we've modernized that. So it's online. Yeah. YouTube makes an objection to, you know, the government. So yeah, that's why it's on there. Yeah, it's on the government YouTube channel.
Worked, and that's kind of because, like you said, you didn't have a good relationship with your parents. I didn't have that. I wasn't comfortable asking my mom or my dad.
Yeah,
like,
most people.
What is this? They probably should have been the ones to educate me first. Probably wouldn't have became a teen parent, but.
I mean, should be done in schools. Although to be honest, some schools do not do it very well. Like they do absence-only education, which is...
Yeah, I only hung back because I agree and I disagree. Like for me, it was very interesting. I have a mom and dad. My mother is a very Latin woman. So it's kind of funny that she was the one who I talked to about sex more than my dad. I don't think I've ever said more than 2 words to my dad up until this day about sex. So for my daughter, I almost kind of want to mirror that for obvious reasons. I mean, that might just be a better conversation for her mom to have with her. I mean, I'm willing to have a conversation, but I also feel a little bit uncomfortable at the same time.
I mean,
maybe.
Unless they're not like, I mean, if they're not straight, if they're gay, then maybe. But if they're straight, I feel like maybe they should. Or if they're bisexual, then I feel like maybe they should have a conversation too.
No, but yeah, I think the younger people here have it so incredibly difficult and so incredibly easy just because they have everything available to them at the same time. Where like me, you, like you over there, like you have to figure stuff out from like, you know, blurry VHS tapes or like slow internet downloads and stuff like that. So it's very like I'm not jealous of you guys at all.
That's fair. That's fair to say that I might not feel comfortable talking to my daughter about intercourse. Right. That's completely true.
Yeah.
Way easier for me to talk to my son about how bitches are. Like, look, you're good at basketball, you know what I'm saying? Or you're good at athletics and whatnot. Like, I know how women are going to be.
When it comes to courting, yeah, like I could talk to her probably a lot easier than
Absolutely.
I could about
I said disagree because of the word necessary. I don't think that it's necessary.
Well, I
you
don't.
know, everyone's watched Animal Planet. Nobody teaches the lion cubs how to have sex or.
I mean,
what to do.
You don't really want people to act like lions, though, do you? Because that's how you get your child going to prison for rape.
I think it's ingrained in all of us.
You know.
I think it's just something that is the result of evolutionary biology. My dad was a very strong.
Or maybe not prison. I mean, you've got to be careful. Like, you know, rapists do get murdered from time to time because, well, you know, you're a rapist. No one really likes you. You know.
And he was always there for me. but I never had the birds and the bees talk. I never had it.
Funny, the birds and bees is just a terrible example because like bees are so tiny and like birds can go to massive size, and just bees are insects and birds are like, you know, it just doesn't make sense.
Went through puberty. I felt all the things that young boys feel going through puberty. I used my eyes and I looked around the world.
Okay, creepy.
I talked to my friends like curious kids do, and we figured it out, and we kind of knew what was going on.
Did you kind of know what was going on, or were you just fucking ignorant and you just thought you knew what was going on?
But something you said actually made me think and almost reconsider if I made the right choice, and that was about pornography. Because this is a very big issue, and it's very pervasive in our society today. The average age of first exposure to pornography in this country is 11.
Jesus Christ, that's creepy. That's a creepy thought. That's a creepy thought. Although, what I would ask, what form, you know, because there is like, you know, certain media which makes very suggestive stuff, and it's supposedly made for children, and you know that does occur. So there's that.
And some social scientists are saying that it's getting younger every year. To keep people viewing, to keep the dopamine hits coming to these viewers, these young viewers, it's escalating behaviors. It's rape. It's incest. It's aggression. It is these horribly
it's just
violent behaviors that they're learning for the first time. You know, by 18 years old, it's over 90% of young boys have seen porn, and 60% for young women. And that is something that we have to recognize. I think it is good to have some discussions about this, but I also think that this ties back.
I would say though, when it comes to 11, is that seeking out? Because I think if you're seeking out at the age of 11, fucking Christ, you're fucked up. Or your society needs to definitely just change the way it functions, because it's not showing you the right way of doing things. Yeah, just 11 is, you know,
Back to why it's important to have a two-parent home, because it's not just about telling your kids what is right. Kids are very visual learners. And so when they see your mother and father interacting with each other in a loving, nurturing way, they internalize that. They see that, and they in turn go out and they treat other people like that.
I mean,
whether that's their girlfriend or boyfriend. And so that's, I think, one of the big values of having a two-parent, two-sex home.
I think being honest, because even being conservative, I think we can be a little hypocritical, like we're so perfect and we have this perfect family.
Yeah, conservatives do.
But it's like, no, your mama was a hoe.
Jesus Christ.
You know, your dad used to sniff coke. You know, so we're not perfect, and just being honest and transparent and seeing, you know, certain things in our children and being able to address those things in a timely manner. So I don't think that it's necessary for my kids' age to talk about sex, and I would rather them just for now see the intimacy between a mother and a father before I drop that ball, you know, on them. So.
Children should strive to meet their parents' expectations.
Depends what their expectations are. You know.
Right, like that's a valid question.
So
what are
only
those
the children
expectations? Do we expect our kids to be rocket scientists as soon as they're born? Probably not. If it's like good, upstanding citizens who love and respect their family and their.
But what do you mean by upstanding citizen? Because, you know, some upstanding citizens in certain societies will be doing some horrible things, you know? But you're being an upstanding citizen. This is what you're supposed to do as a citizen.
Friends, I think so. And I'm sure there are some children of immigrants here who probably have a very high standard expected of them from the day that they were born or the day that they moved to this country.
And that's one thing I wish Asian American households like changed. We should always be expecting improvement. I think that's the one thing that parents should always be putting on their kids.
What?
Thing is, I was really bad at math. Like I did not learn how to add positive and negative numbers until like 7th, late 8th grade.
Jesus.
Which is really, really bad, okay, especially for an Asian.
Oh.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter where your kid starts. You should always be encouraging them to improve. You don't say.
Yes, but the problem with that is that you are always raising the bar. And this is what humans do. They always raise the bar, raise the bar, raise the bar, raise the bar, raise the bar. And this is why you're like billionaires is the problem, because you're never going to be satisfied. Certain people are just never going to be satisfied because always raising the bar, raise 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 the bar, always going higher and higher and higher, reaching higher heights. Problem is, eventually, with certain things, not everything of it, with certain things, you can't jump over that bar. If you keep raising it, eventually you will whack into that bar. You will not reach it. You know. So, expecting constant improvement will inevitably lead to a position at some point when they can approve. So at that point, what's occurred there is most likely is that your child has actually improved far more than you required them to in your eyes, and they're just basically already better than the next row and the next row and the next row and the next row. And this is what I've seen. Like, you know, when I saw, like, I was, you know, fairly good at math mathematics when I was a young person, you know.
Quantitative standards for them, saying get an A on this, get B on this. What you should be encouraging is, oh, you got a C? Try to get C plus, B.
But what if it gets harder? Then you're expecting better results for harder work.
Small steps are what gets your kid there.
I don't want to but raise a child that is reckless. Like, okay, well, you have the freedom, be yourself, express yourself, do whatever you want. And then, you know, she comes home, you know, 16 and pregnant. I'm like, you did this and blah, blah, blah. Well, Dad, you didn't tell me anything. So the expectations isn't to be perfect, but just take a little bit of the things that she's learned, you know, that they've learned from their mom and dad, and utilize them in
What if they're bad things?
their life to the best
As I said, like, their expectations are sometimes bad.
of their abilities. And if they
You know, and different people have different opinions on what that bad thing is. But I think almost everyone can admit that parents sometimes have bad expectations.
can do that, I'm happy with it. My parenting style, I feel, is, I would say, strict, but it's not strict. You know, although my children aren't allowed to be exposed to certain things, they still have an amazing way of life because they get to do things with their mother.
Do they though?
Their father who are actually present while they're in their presence instead of scrolling on social media.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair critique.
And ignoring the child.
That's a fair critique, yeah.
You know, when the child could be needing you more than you think.
Yeah.
So.
The first part, but dodgy, but yeah, I think it is. It's fair to say that, you know, it isn't great to be a parent that just is on your phone the whole time. So if you're a parent watching this, stop watching it. And take care of your child. Unless your child is not there at the moment, in which case, yeah, don't.
I pride myself.
It's a boring video for me. Not for me. I'm saying it's a boring video from me, rather.
And as I can, and setting that strong foundation for my children.
I think it's also important to teach your kids that the expectations you're setting for them and those goals that you're setting for them isn't for you, it's for them. And that's something really important that my parents taught me, was that here are the goals, here's what we expect out of you, but at the end of the day, your successes are your own and your failures are your own.
Not really though, is it? Like, your failures are your own. I mean, you know, if you try and go for a job and you don't get the job because you discriminated because of the, you know, your economic position, that's your failure, definitely. Yeah.
One day, mom and dad aren't going to be here, and you're going to have only yourself to look to for your accomplishments. And so,
I mean, not true, is it though? You will succeed based off of your societal standards and the people around you, not off of yourself alone. Because that only works if you live in, like, the middle of nowhere on your own, and you yourself, you know, eat well because you catch a bunch of fish and stuff, and you yourself have a good home because you built it yourself and you use good strong materials and all that. You know, only in that scenario can you truly say you've accomplished this yourself, because otherwise you have failed because of these people and you've succeeded in this area because of these people. You know, you haven't failed or succeeded solely on yourself, because that's not how a society is built. Society is inherently just built off of, you know, if I launch a new technology that makes me appear very successful, all that stuff. Did I launch the technology solely on my own? Did I rely on No, of course I relied on all the technologies of the previous generations up until then, you know? Like, I'm sure many inventions have been invented over and over again by people who have not experienced the original, or have not experienced the thing there, you know? Like, if you are in a country that, didn't see the light bulb, right? And then you invented the light bulb after the original light bulb was invented. You still technically invented the light bulb. You just so happened that another human invented it as well, but you didn't connect with him. So that means you successfully, effectively invented the light bulb, separately from that one, you know. So that's the other thing there. It's like you're building off of somebody else's technology, not your own. So in society, you're building off of other people's success and other people's
setting the goals and setting the bar, but then making them realize this is all you. The ball's in your court, and your life is in your
not wholly
hands.
Though.
It's not in ours.
The expectation
it's not there.
that I have is just they're the best person that they could be.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same for every parent. I mean, that's the goal and the wish, that your child is happy and healthy and content of who they are and what they're doing. And of course, I'm going to push them to take the next step, and I'll always push them. But you know, I think that expectation is a valid one.
I agree with a lot of the stuff you guys were saying, but the reason I didn't fully step forward was I immediately thought of my parents. And my parents both grew up in conservative homes and were told that they should, the whole goal was to go to college, get a wife, and have kids.
Yeah.
If the expectation, if my parents met the expectation that they were gonna get married and have a wife and have kids, one, they might have killed themselves and not been here today. Two, I definitely wouldn't have been here, my brother wouldn't have been here. So it can't be the end all be all to meet your parents' expectations.
My parents are immigrants from India, and their expectation for me is to accomplish the American dream, to blend.
What is the fucking American dream at this point, like? You know. Because whatever about back in the day, when the American dream was a bit dubious, it's definitely dubious now.
Into.
I mean, the American dream just was not a thing for certain groups. Just, no, you're definitely not going to achieve the American dream. Like, even, you know.
White society, to blend into like rich American society. They placed me from the age of 5 in a all-boys school until the age of 15, and their expectation was for me to blend in. I'm sorry, I can't meet that. Like, I'm a woman. I'm not going to meet your expectation of going to an all-boys school. That, I don't think that's me doing something wrong there. That's me just living my truth. But there's other expectations that I think are very appropriate for them to have me meet. You know, they want me to go to a good college. They want me to succeed and be happy and accomplish my dreams. And I think those are all wonderful, but I think it's not so black and white.
Yeah, you're right.
Elementary schools should teach students about sexual orientation and gender identity.
I mean, yeah, I think so, yeah. I think so, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, fair. I mean, the thing is, my problem is that you already do, in elementary schools. You already do. It's just exclusively like straight, and cis. That's just the thing, you know. Like, you already do teach students about sexual orientation and gender identity, except you just exclusively do straight and cis. Inevitably, you know, that's what it's
I
always
don't think
happen.
they should teach like queer theory or like college level gender classes, but I think they should be taught that these kinds of people exist in the world, and you will grow up in a world where you need to love and respect these people.
Even, you know, but I'm just saying, like, inherently, as I've said already, I learned about you know, straight relationships very early on. I learned about you know, cis relationships very early on as well. You know, the cis identity. So I'm just saying, if I learned about that, clearly I can learn about other things as well. Wouldn't make much sense to be like, well, this is the ordinary thing. Yes, but also, you know, if this is the exact same thing, it's just you know, it's just a different one.
For me, that, like, if we're talking specifically elementary school, for me that just looks like having a book in the classroom that is about a two-dad family, or is a
basically, this is the equivalent of someone saying, oh, we already learned about Mercury in school Mercury the planet, but why are we learning about Jupiter and Saturn? Like, these are just you know, why are they teaching this in our schools? You already fucking learned about Mercury. We already learned about Mercury for years, you know. This is just the same thing. It's just a different planet. In this case, it's just we already have learned about sexual orientation. We just learned about additional ones. You know. Yes, we learned about straight relations for fucking all the years. You know. We're just adding to it.
About someone discovering that they like to wear dresses, and then maybe that disagrees with what they were born as, you know? Just something like a children's book or just some kind of picture on the wall that represents that. It doesn't have to be anything beyond that that's not age appropriate. You know, this doesn't involve gay sex education or...
yeah, no one's... like, and then they came close. Kissing.
Hormone therapy or...
No, that's not happening, but you know.
Like, if we're talking like elementary school kids, it's just representation. Like, just putting it on everyone's radar.
Yeah, I think those people are out there. At its core, it's not about you have to agree with this and this is an agenda. It's about you can agree with this, you can disagree with this, but you need to respect it.
You know, growing up, I didn't have those books. I was questioning myself if I'm normal, quote, or if I'm, you know, if there's something wrong with me. Why do I have these feelings? Is this correct? Because I never had a conversation with my parents. My parents are straight. My whole family is very conservative.
Not nice, is it? America's Ugh.
So it was really difficult for me
It's not just America, though. To be fair.
to accept myself because I didn't see the acceptance anywhere else.
It's the exact same thing as different cultures, different religions. It's just another diverse area that you need to be exposed to.
And it's like me being okay with schools being taught heterosexual relationships. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
See? Thank God someone fucking brings this up.
That's something part of the world, of course. Like,
I didn't get any education
Hey, I'm glad someone brought it up.
from it from school, and kids use like that's gays, like you're gay, like as a derogatory.
Yeah.
So for me, it could be as simple as like this girl has 2 dads. My kids have 2 moms. Simple.
Is it Brittany? Yes. Okay, so you made a statement just now where you said you think it should just be like this exists and not go any further. So I think my problem with the school
No, before you even speak, just...
system teaching our children these things is that it doesn't just stop there.
Oh, it doesn't.
And also,
Really?
what if your boundary is different from her boundary?
Well, maybe. And this is just a thing. Like your man said, we learn about heterosexual relationships in school. So what we do is we say relationships, okay? So this is the point. Sexual orientation would include heterosexual. We're not talking about LGBTQ+. We're just saying sexual orientation. That includes heterosexual, okay? So we just say, in the same way that we learn about heterosexual relationships, let's learn about non-heterosexual relationships. In the same way we learn about cisgender identity, let's learn about trans identity. And this is to the point, though, You are entirely missing the point,
Everybody's boundary is a little bit different, right? As parents.
Absolutely.
So I don't think the schools understand that. And I don't think...
Fuck off. You are just a bigot if you just think, oh, like, come on. You know full fucking well. This is just you probably don't know full well if you watch certain media outlets. The point is, when you have a system in which you say, oh, no, they're going too far. Yes, but then fucking stop them going too far with heterosexual relationships as well then.
Government schools really should be raising our children, which they are now.
What? Oh, which must private
Right?
schools.
We should be really raising our own children. And if we have to put our children in a public school, hopefully they're learning reading, writing, and arithmetic, and the social things, and the cultural things, and the religious things that are valuable to each one of us should come from inside our...
But here's the fucking point. I was never actively told, oh, this is a man and a woman having a relationship. Never explicitly told, this is a heterosexual relationship. But I did learn about heterosexual relationships when I went to school, to begin with, when I was very young. So, can I ask you the question, seeing as that is the case, why not expand that to non-heterosexual relationships as well?
Our household. My approach with parenting is to...
You're gonna learn about sexual orientation in school. The question is if you're gonna learn about just heterosexual or might be more.
Be very loving, very tender, a very good role model.
You're a fucking idiot, Carmen.
Some people would say I do some attachment parenting because we still sleep in the same bed.
Okay.
But really, it's
yeah, that's
it's for a number of reasons, and one being safety, and 2 being it's more fun than being across the house from my daughter when we're the only 2 people in the house. We just have a
do you have to, bed?
very tender, loving relationship. I wanted to make sure that I cultivated that in my relationship with my child,
I mean,
because I felt like
you can just like make a makeshift cot.
I grew up without that tenderness and that love and that security in my household. So I wanted to make sure that I provided that for my daughter, no matter what.
You said, I'm so sorry to keep bringing this up. I don't want to like trauma bond or anything, but like you didn't have a good relationship with your parents. You weren't able to go and talk to them about sex or your period
Correct.
or things like that.
Correct.
Where was the best place to get that information other than school, sex ed, for you?
That's a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up. I wish that my parents were open and communicative. I had a similar situation to you, and so I ended up learning it from my friends.
Not a good place to learn.
So friends and magazines and
Gotcha.
VHS tapes. Somebody mentioned, like, you learn about these things other ways, but still, it should come from the family. I believe.
Should.
But yeah,
Doesn't
It
always,
should come
though.
from the family. Because I can almost guarantee that every single person here, and anybody who's a parent or just has a parent, we all have a different
yeah, but some of you are just wrong.
idea of what we want our children to learn and not learn about
Yeah, but some of you are breeding fascists. So, thanks to 180 if you produce the next Hitler.
These particular social constructs and sex in
But
general.
we exist. That's
Yeah,
the thing
but
is
yeah,
like we
it's
exist.
sexual orientation a construct.
I want to add on to that.
No.
So I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying when you guys are up here about representation. We should be teaching our kids that people of different sexualities, family types, they exist. But when you have one entity, one curriculum, one school, one government, when you have only one entity teaching.
Actually, mostly governments, make minor changes. And you make a major change, it's a major change. Like, the government doesn't just go, oh, this is a major change. The government goes, we're announcing this change, we're phasing it in, we're experimenting, the change is now fully implemented. That's how change works. Governments oftentimes, and this is supposed to be how democracy is supposed to work, it's that if you don't like a government, you vote them out. So all these changes that happen in education tend to occur over a cycle where if you have a proper democratic system, you have time to roll it back. Oftentimes systems take maybe 6 years to roll in. Don't fucking vote for that government if you're not happy with it, Obviously, democracy in the US, for example, in many countries is completely broken. People don't bother to not vote for government even though they don't agree with them really. And if they do disagree with them, they vote for government will do the exact same thing. They just basically vote from one party to another. So, if you're in America, you vote Republican to Democrat. But if they're on the same position for the same issue, what do you fucking do? You've got no choice. This is the way your country's gonna go, basically. That's just a one-party state then. Anyway, basically, my point is that when you see this is inherently just a little small issue, which is that governments don't tend to actually have much involvement in education most of the time, though. Sometimes they do.
Teaching a thing that can go both ways in a lot of different directions, there's a lot of room for bias. Like,
Bias?
I want my kids when I grow up. I want them
to you think of it?
that these different things exist, but in school, it's just so hard to regulate what's going on.
Jesus Christ, sound like a fascist.
And I see news stories all the time about these children's books. There's one book about teaching, I don't know the name, but it's about a girl exploring her sexuality. And in the book, it literally says, her friend said, maybe you should try tasting your vaginal discharge to see if you like it or not. And the thing is,
I feel like if you're reading news stories, it's like when she's like, oh, my parents were like, Google it, and then yeah, no offense, but that's how you get biased when you don't realize you're biased. Because Google is a machine that tries to feed you targeted stuff. And also stuff that is boosted by ads. So, So basically, when you see the news article, is that reliable for one? What age that book at? Was that a mistake? Was that book not supposed to be there? There's a lot of different issues, and then there's all sorts of things where it's like, well, what's the fuck was that you saying?
nobody's advocating for this stuff. At least I hope not. But do you see? It can get out of hand.
Yeah, but where exactly did you read that? It's like, I read it on Fox News, the most reliable source in America. The one famous for its connection with propaganda.
So quickly. So
That's understandable.
When it's hard to regulate.
But again,
it's not really.
and in schools it is curriculum, so it wouldn't be anything outside of.
But it was being taught in the curriculum.
But wait, can you explain? I just. You need to get a little more information.
Like the students are being
These books are
Students
in
were
the
reading
classroom.
I think
Yeah,
some
but where are you reading that these books are in the classroom and what classroom are they in?
teachers be wilding out
that's-
and bringing in their own
the authors,
personal
and the
stuff that's not
authors,
supposed to be in the curriculum. That shit sounds
Absolutely
wild.
not.
Like, that sounds wild.
We forget that, we talk about, the school system and all that stuff, but we forget that these teachers are people too.
Yeah, and some of them are fascists.
A lot of these teachers are my age. They're young.
Exactly. Like,
And all of them are older as well.
so my
I can
daughter, when
understand
she
that.
went into kindergarten, her teacher was amazing, great. She loved my daughter, treated her very, very well. But the first time I went I think it was back to school, now a parent-teacher conference, there was literally, the whole classroom was surrounded with rainbows.
Yeah. And rainbows are fun. They're nice to look at.
And I'm like, rainbow pencils, rainbow ABCs, rainbow. I'm like,
Okay, did you not realize the whole point of color is that it's more vibrant? Do you want a dull environment for your children? Is that it? Like, yeah, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it is grey and grey and grey. Grey A, B and grey B, C. Grey and D and grey E, E. Grey and F and grey G, E. Grey H and grey... Do you want that? Just your ABC is just all one bland color. Also, how do you make the ABCs rainbow? Like, there's like 6. So,
Okay, we need to know our colors. They need to know their colors. That's cool.
Yeah.
But it went from like, okay, you're teaching them to, okay, what is this? Like, I don't care if you are gay or whatever you. No. She was married, had kids.
Okay, and she could still be gay.
I don't know if her kids were or anything like that, but it just was like, what are you trying to?
First of all, interestingly, I think there is a difference. There is a difference between the typical, like the pride rainbow, and then the conventional rainbow that you see. So there's that. But so anyway, like for example, I believe there was a rainbow painted on the entrance to a school before that I was near, and someone who was was wondering, and I was like, actually, I think that's just a rainbow. I think that's just a rainbow, just an ordinary conventional rainbow. We have them in the sky, your man's just like, it's the gay people. Look what they're doing. They're turning the sky into rainbows now. No, actually, that's a thing that occurs, naturally, rather like being gay,
It just felt weird. I think some. No, absolutely not.
No.
But I mean, for a 50-year-old woman to have 1,000 rainbows in the classroom when I grew up and there was maybe 1 or 2 or 3.
Okay, well that's just like depressing. Like when I went to school, my school was very bland. They didn't really have color. Color wasn't really a thing. We didn't really have a vibrant thing. So, yeah, like the whole point of a rainbow is learning your basic colors. As an education thing. I mean, like obviously the whole point of a rainbow is it's light hitting, obviously, I know what a rainbow is in the sky, but what I'm saying is the whole idea of taking that and bringing it it was conventionally like you like rainbows have been used in education for fucking like ages, because you learn your colors that way, and it's very good way to map things, and it's very efficient.
What's the
1,000? I feel like might be a bit.
The fact that it was thought that because there was rainbows in the classroom that was pushing agenda to these kids is just ludicrous to me. I mean,
yeah, like it's fucking rainbow.
To think that a queer person, whether they're a parent or not, has a particular agenda to push LGBTQ community on other people is just ridiculous. And it triggered something in me, and I bit my tongue during that time.
When I was in 5th grade, I had a gay teacher. We all knew he was gay.
Although
we all
it might be a bit of a...
loved him. And I also had a classmate with 2 moms. And the teacher recognized and said, this student has 2 moms. That's perfectly fine.
You know why they had to say that? Because of the fucking homophobes there are. People think children are so progressive. Nah, they're not actually. They're not. A lot of children are actually just full on very very right wing in their like social ideas. Where do you think they get that from? Like from fucking fascist parents.
Not going to go any further than
Conservatives
that.
too.
Recognizing and seeing the student and telling them that they're safe here. The problem today is what you were talking about, is that it's not just recognition, it's almost indoctrination.
It's indoctrination because that's how sexuality works. You get indoctrinated. Oh my. It's weird as well though, because it doesn't make much sense, because like you can be bisexual. So if you were indoctrinated into being that way, then you would just be like, oh, actually, this is not for me. So you wouldn't be indoctrinated then. It would just kind of fail, because it's like sexuality, You get indoctrinated into a religion because that's more about belief, You can't really say, oh, this is not true. Well, it's based off of belief. You can't say, oh, well, look at it. Yeah, but it's based off of belief. That's the whole system. So when you get indoctrinated into religion, like Christianity, or whatever it may be, then you are able to defend that somewhat, because, well, no, it's about belief. This is what the book says, so we'll go by the book. When you're talking about a sexuality, you're not really talking about belief. You're talking about actual attraction there, so
It's taking it past just showing people that, yes, you exist and I recognize you. I took sex ed in 5th grade too, and it was very simple. It was the boys went in one classroom with the male teachers, and the
Why?
girls went into another classroom with the female teachers. And we talked about the anatomy. We could ask questions.
You should talk about the anatomy of both, though.
About sex and questions about puberty. And other than that, that was kind of it. But now, across this country, you're seeing these types of books that aren't just talking about the biology and the anatomy and teaching kids about procreation. It's talking about pleasure. It's this pornographic material, and that has no place in the classroom. And unfortunately, we're almost having to step back and have no sex education, which we want sensible sex education, because people are taking it so far. And my question to those people that agreed is, why do you not think that parents can sufficiently and appropriately determine how and when they talk to their kids about sex?
Because parents are ignorant, like you. And you're one. You're ignorant. This is why you wouldn't trust you to teach your kids from homeschooling without a... This is why, like, in my country, you can do homeschooling, but there's a curriculum. You follow the curriculum. You don't get to just invent your own test. You do... There's a test you... And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that that's what people have put in place because they know that relying on parents is not a good idea.
And why are these teachers so eager to talk to other parents' children about sex and gender ideology? I've literally
Why the fuck do you think, buddy?
traveled the country reporting on this indoctrination, on the drag queen story hour, on the transition closets, on the coming out day. And whether or not you agree with
he's
those,
a fucking fascist, isn't he?
that's fine if you agree with them, but you have to also agree that your child is in a classroom with parents that feel very strongly about those issues.
Yeah. And guess what, buddy? Sometimes parents are fucking fascists. And unless you want your Nazis marching through the streets, I would advise you might want to treat those parents with a little less authority than you would then, the rest,
Issues, and that has to be left to the parent.
No, because that is how you breed serious, serious problems. Because inherently, can I put this out to you? If someone is left-wing, inherently, they're most likely not going to be lying. Now, I'm saying as someone who's, saying left-wing things might be lying to you because, they might be saying left-wing things, but also maybe not left-wing in their actual ideology. But the majority, because it doesn't really match with the ideology. So when you see the likes of somebody in a position in which they have this sort of idea of, left the parent. Yeah, but the problem is, an ideology where you lie to people is inherently an ideology which will win out when you simply have, just listen to these people, and then just follow that. The liars will win in that scenario, because the liars are going to lie, And the liars are fascists.
It is not the teacher's job to say, today's coming out day, or to say that you can be called by this pronoun or this pronoun, or you can go in either classroom to talk about this anatomy or this anatomy.
No, you don't have either classroom. You just have one classroom, which makes sense, really. Like, learn about both,
It's just not your job.
When it comes to pronouns, I feel like that teacher is creating a safe space for that child in case they do come home and they cannot come
That's
out
what
to
it
you
comes
guys.
down to. It's creating safe spaces for the children that aren't like
Like,
your
I
children.
didn't mean to point you guys
Honestly.
out, but you both
I
are
would
very
argue that those
religious.
states-
Right.
And I personally come from a very religious household. No offense, but I am uncomfortable as hell, being
Around Christians.
not necessarily Christians, but people
Catholics, we can be pretty tough.
that. No,
Not even, no. It's actually just Catholics who are full of bullshit. Catholics who just are homophobic. Now, to be fair to some Catholics, that is because that is the way you are taught from your parents or from the church, whatever. But here is the thing: that is not your actual religion. That is just a bunch of fucking bullshit. Because here's the thing: interesting story. When religion spreads, kings and all of this tend to have a proposition put forward to them. So you can either accept this religion into your society, accept the priests, accept all this, and accept the certain amount of power that the church will get, or you can reject it. To reject it, you might have to kill a few people, but you're a king, you can do that with no real risk of losing authority. But the thing is, there's one benefit. If the religion aligns with your values, you can use it to backpedal almost. So if people disagree with you, disagree with what you have to say, you can say, well, look, it's in the religion, so you have to follow me because it's in the religion. You're not following me because I'm saying so. I know I'm your king, but you're also following me because it says it's in the religion, So what happens when the king goes, well, I can get this thing, but your religion doesn't actually have this. So I'm going to have to ask you, could you edit it slightly? Or even people will consciously go, well, they're probably not going to like this, so we'll edit it slightly. And this is why the celebration of Jesus Christ's birth is done on the 25th. Was not born on the 25th, but that matches up with Roman celebrations, that matches up with German celebrations, that matches up with a lot of people's celebrations. So it was a very good place to put it to get them in. So this is what Catholicism and Christianity as a whole has done for years, which is to add stuff to the religion to grow it. Because that king is going to kill you or throw you out if you have something in there that they do not like. So you have to make sure that your religion aligns well with what they want.
I don't mean to like make you guys feel
I understand
uncomfortable.
what you're saying because it's a two-sided coin.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like
Well, it's a convenience to be Christian. I'm going to be
Right.
I'm going to be Christian
you go.
of the old covenant and not
Right.
know what Christianity really means on the new covenant. And I know Christianity because I went to a ministerial school for 3 years. So you want to talk about the Bible, we can talk about it. But
I mean, I don't really think you can be relied upon to actually talk about the Bible when you go to ministerial school. First of all, anyone who tries to learn the Bible through English is gonna find some issues because some of the translations are unreliable in the extreme. Because obviously, if you're translating the religious text that all these people are gonna follow, of course you're gonna be inclined to maybe go, well, I think this is the way we should translate it. It's like that's kind of changes the whole meaning of the book, though. Yeah, but maybe that's what they were saying. No, I don't think they were. No, there's these fucking ignorant people who won't know. Well, they can't speak their written language, so
But LGBT is not even talked about in the new covenant where Jesus Christ came and washed away my sins, and I'm a Christian.
Pause, because we do have to move on. I want to hear from Mike.
Oh, well, no, I was just going to say that my wife and I plan to homeschool for a multitude of reasons. Specifically, we don't want the state involved in our child's education. There are a bunch of subjects we don't even think should be taught to begin with, like earth science. What the hell is that all about?
Earth science?
But to point to Aldo's point, one of the reasons why, especially
maybe research it, buddy.
Actually, recently, why we decided.
Just like I'm ignorant about this, so somehow children should be too. That's the way education should work. Whatever I'm ignorant about, so much should my children.
This was because we went to our local school district's library, and those books absolutely exist. And we were told by the librarian that an 8 to 12-year-old can take those books out without their parents' permission. And these books, they're kind of like comic booky types. Some of them are, but some of them have extremely pornographic descriptions. Some of them have visual aids. Some of them talking about, hey, try a blowjob, see how it makes you feel. Some of them talk about fingering yourself. I'm absolutely not open to having my daughter look at that stuff, let alone even hear about it from other kids. And second of all, with the teachers in the classrooms, I feel like there is a larger subset of teachers who seem to have an agenda. This is just what I see optically. And it's just not something that I'm comfortable with. So,
Can I quickly ask Ra a question? You talked about creating a safe space for students with pronouns. Do you recognize that some parents that feel very strongly about these issues, that by these teachers creating these safe spaces for students and introducing all the students to the spectrum of gender ideology creates a dangerous space for that other child?
Fuck him! Fuck him, the fascist. I'm sorry, but fuck you. If you want to be a little Nazi and you want your children to learn about a bunch of fucking nonsense, guess what? That's bad. Do you not think it's bad that in Nazi schools that Nazi children learned that they were biologically superior? Is that something you want? Because clearly you don't want that to exist because that the conservative parents don't like that. For their children. This is the problem. People inevitably do you understand the issue surrounding that? This is how you have a fucked up society by just going, you cannot learn about this.
That it's introducing them to an idea that the parents feel strongly about?
Do I think creating a safe space for queer and trans kids creates an unsafe place for straight kids?
It doesn't fucking create an unsafe space. Maybe for the parents, because their children will fucking realize that they're just ignorant, fucking evil little shits.
Absolutely not.
That the parents, though, that you recognize that the parents could feel that way, that the introduction of these ideas
because they're stupid
is not aligning with their values, and it's not okay.
Well, I'm deeply sorry for you, buddy boy, but if the parents are fascists, then, that's not how fascism. It's,
I agree 1,000% with homeschooling. I worked at LAUSD for 10 years. And I've seen a lot of shit that goes on in the school district. I absolutely believe that it starts at home. And if you give your kids a good foundation at home, they should be able to have a little bit of a foundation when they go to school and recognize these different things. Like, oh, I don't agree with that. I don't get jiggy with that. But I'm not going to hate and disrespect the person that does. So because there are kids that are committing suicide, there are kids that are coming to school that come to school for safety, for food, not only just to learn about sex ed, but literally because they have no other place to go but to go to school for food in the morning.
What about the kid, though, who's made to feel out to be like a pariah? Let's say if there's one kid who's like, well, you know, that's maybe not what I believe with the pronoun.
Well, you're fucking ignorant. I'm sorry if you're that kid and you're about 2 hours into this video, but like, you know, you're kind of ignorant. You're just an ignorant idiot, like. I know some kids are fucking ignorant about this. And that's not okay. And whether you blame them for that or not, the fact is they are ignorant. And you don't let that ignorance continue. You educate them on it. Because they are gonna have fucking problems. Whether that hurts them or not, the point is, that's a fucking problem. I know kids who did, I don't like them or anything, but I know kids who had very little understanding. They went to school, they were in fucking school, they were a teenager, and they were learning, in this day and age, they were learning about the existence of gay people. What the actual fuck? The thing is, they might have been gay themselves, but wouldn't have fucking known because their parents wouldn't have fucking told them. You know? Because their parents wouldn't have agreed with that. Is that okay to do? To have a kid in that position? I don't think it is, actually.
Pronouns or with any sort of
I'm that kid. I don't care about pronouns. Absolutely.
Right, exactly, sure. So now, today, I feel like there are kids who are probably going to be pariahed by their teacher. Maybe if they're, you know, if he or she's a bad teacher, I don't know. That's not necessarily inclusive or maybe a safe space for that one child who, you know, may feel like, I don't believe in any of this stuff.
Well, you're fucking ignorant.
It's not just about making the kids in the school feel safe. It's about educating the people that don't know how to treat other people outside of the school.
Yeah, she's right.
So they can take that with them.
She's
and
right.
respect people that are not inside the school.
Yeah.
Sometimes a child needs a spanking.
Oh, God. I'm somewhat... I don't think the parent should do it, though. I think child abuse is a serious issue, and parents definitely should not be the ones making the decision there.
This is interesting because, ooh, let me get close. I feel that every kid needs a spanking, though my wife and I have decided that we're not going to spank our kid. If that makes any sense. Like, I grew up being spanked.
Yeah, but you just said every child, and then it's not, that's not, the thing is sometimes, so that is, you haven't gone off the question, but you've gone, like, as your one would love to say, the extreme of like, no, not sometimes, every time, every kid.
And I turned out all right for it, but...
Did you? Did you though? Because you're arguing for some really fucked up things. Like, we should shut up about gender equality because some kids don't agree with it. You know, some kids are fascists.
I do think that spanking can be, or, you know, physical, what's the word? Physical discipline or physical correction can be useful, but...
Corporal punishment, don't you?
Yeah, not for mine.
The thing is, like, you can take this question both ways. There are cases where you should not spank a child, but I think about behaviors that have been ingrained, that have been enabled for a long time, that are terrible, and they should stop.
That's not, no, abusing them is not, okay, the problem is, that's just child abuse. And the issue, right, is that there's two ways that an avenue approach can go. Either the person stops doing this thing, and this is like similar to like laws, where they want to do the thing. They really want to do the thing. They really enjoy doing the thing, but they also know that thing, doing that thing will also come with a punishment. Or may come with a punishment, you know? So, sure, they could do that thing, or they could try doing that thing at least. But similar to like, well, you could murder someone, but also, if you do, you might go to prison for the rest of your life or even get killed by the government in certain countries. So, that kind of thing. You're basically teaching your child, not that that thing is bad, not saying you shouldn't do that thing, but like, you shouldn't do that thing because you'll get hurt if you do that thing. So, you're not actually telling your child, oh, don't do this thing because it's bad. You're just saying you'll be punished for it. Which inevitably leads to the position of what happens to the child as an adult. Because you're no longer there to spank them, you know? So will they just realize, well, I'm free to do as I please, basically now, you know? So it's a problem there because you're reading basically just an additional law. Just don't do that thing, you know?
I work at a tech summer camp, and there's this little girl who's just a demon. She would like go up to the Indian kid, say, "You're ugly, you're brown, you smell."
Oh,
Like,
fuck them.
these are things that are
Fuck those kids. Just crush their heads in a fucking, you know.
enabled. A kid isn't born and has this hate towards Indian people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they got it from the parents, most likely.
So I think a case like that, and when the mom came, she was just like, "Honey, you can't continue doing that. It's been enabled." So I think there are cases where the only way to
Okay,
get
then that's probably not the parents then. Probably friends around them. I don't know.
to the kid's head is by showing like extreme like concern and like.
No, I just think just crush the child. You know, just that mom comes back and you go, yeah, we compacted your child into a brick. They're being a racist prick, so, you know. Don't you worry, we'll use an innovative tech methods to crush your child. That's why we bring them to tech summer camps, because they know they were a test subject. Yeah, for the crusher. We're thinking of actually giving it to because lethal injection. It's just like, I think we think it's better if you just like crush the person just into this brick. Just, yeah, pretty innovative. I think, yeah.
For some parents, that can come through spanking, but I don't think it should be used for like mild cases, like you got to be on a test or something.
Oh yeah. Like what the fuck is that like? Oh yeah, you're less smart than the other children, so you will be physically abused because that's gonna help you. Definitely. No, that's how you murder your child. I mean, I'm serious with that. That's how you murder your child. That's how you put them in a position that they'll end up coming into. That it's just not good for mental health.
And what do? We mirror our parents' behavior. So because I grew up with my mom spanked me and my dad rarely did, but if he ever got to the point of a spanking, it happened. But I think that my first inclination when my daughter would have a tantrum would just almost kind of be like to either grab her really hard or to just think about this kid needs a spanking. And
a tantrum. I feel like a tantrum should probably solve the problem. Don't abuse your child then, because oh god, that brings a lot of issues with it.
I used to tell my wife, I used to be like, just let me do it. Let me see what happens. But
what?
Just kind of restrict.
Oh god, buddy, that's everybody's like.
Trained ourselves, and you just said, we decided at first, and it may seem like.
Just let me do it, guys. Just let me do it. I want to see what happens. They're not gonna react well to it, honey.
Yeah, very like unconservative thing to say, but like, yeah, we came to the decision we're not gonna do that.
So for me, being African American, I feel like our forms of discipline are more brutal in some senses because they're not really given with love. I remember.
I don't know how you can physically abuse your child with love. It's like, I love you, honey. Ow, ow, ow. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, you're really showing it, aren't you? Just saying.
Getting whoopings just for laughing too early in the morning on a Saturday watching cartoons, so.
I'm just saying.
Because they're trying to sleep. So I think that, like, when I spank my daughter, I always.
I'm just saying it's not really fair to say, well, you don't like, if you're physically abusing your child, you can't really show love. It's not, if you do, it's just creepy. I feel like if you don't show love, it's almost better because you're not like having this really weird, creepy sort of like,
sure she understands why she's getting the spanking. So it's not, she touched something and then I, get her.
Okay.
It's, hey, you shouldn't climb that because you can fall and really hurt yourself. And then I leave the room and come back in and she's doing it. It's like, okay, so the term that I've always used with her when I've given her spankings is, do you need understanding?
Okay.
And she's like, Daddy, I don't want understanding. Like, I don't want any understanding. But after I've spanked her, I'll give her a minute and then I'll come back in the room and say, all right, let's have a conversation. And sit down like, why did I spank you? Because, Daddy, I was climbing the ladder. What could have happened? I could have really fallen and hurt myself. So
don't feel like that's good, Benner.
What do we not do? Climb the ladder if you're not there. It's done.
Right. This goes back to the conversation we were having about expectations and trying to meet those expectations. And as a parent,
that's going to cause trauma.
If you set an expectation for your child that has to do with their safety and it's not met and you don't correct them, then that's actually not loving. Then that's actually not showing your child that there are consequences to the actions, and that'll lead them to doing the same behavior over and over again. And I'll also say that if you are constantly having to spank and use this extreme measure, then you're probably doing something else wrong.
Yeah.
That needs to be corrected first. So it does have to be used sparingly and not that extreme.
Yeah, because then you're just abusing your child on a regular basis. And whatever about sparingly, that can cause psychological issues on its own. But, like, if you're using the extreme, you're going to cause massive issues. That, once again, there's all these things where sometimes massive issues don't actually affect the child in a negative way. But it can affect society, how they treat people, and how they interact with people. So even if they're fine and they're, like, emotionally stable, it doesn't mean necessarily they won't act in a way that's good, you know? Their views on the people is, you know.
You're exactly right. I grew up in a Latin household. I'm Puerto Rican. And we got the switch, we got the belt, we got the hand, we got the fist, we got all of it.
You get the backhand? The backhand with
we
the
got
rings.
we got the wooden spoon, we got all of it. And it was terrifying at times, honestly. And sometimes I didn't feel it was justified. Sometimes it was justified. But I didn't want to create an environment for my child where it was severe punishment that felt like they were so terrified of me that they weren't
it's
going
like
to
you
be
need a
able to
motherly
be-
figure, but also you need an abuser. Great, that's fantastic. No, actually, you can't. That feels like it's inherently a contradiction in terms, isn't it? It's like, oh, they're so motherly, but also they're highly abusive.
Free, right? The punishment needs to fit the crime. If you look at the animal kingdom, I'll talk about that again, but they physically correct their young ones when there's danger, when they're out of line, and they teach them because.
And in anything, they more force them into submission. It's not like, oh, here's your punishment. It's, no, you didn't do that thing, so now I'm making you do it. There's a difference, you know, between like hitting your child because he won't go on a walk and actually grabbing your child and fucking making them, you know?
Verbalizing doesn't always work, and I think it should just be minor corrections. I don't think we should get into the realm of abuse, obviously, and also, I feel like these days you can't even touch your child without, you know, somebody wanting to call CPS on you. When I was growing up, there was no laws. You could just beat the tarnation out of your child, apparently.
Yeah, that's not great, is it, though?
But now, you know, you have to be very careful legally. But
yeah, because people have killed their children as well. Like, how exactly do you know? If it's a little child, how do you know how much they can take? You know?
From a biological standpoint, I think it should just be very slight, and the punishment should fit the crime.
Depends on the crime, though, doesn't it? Because certain crimes are, very bad.
The first thing that bugs me about this conversation that it always seems to be, oh, ha, 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 yeah, I got the smacking, ha, ha, ha. And it always ends up being a laughter that follows stories of people getting spanked. I was spanked. Had my mouth washed out with soap.
Stupid way to do that. It's just fucking, it's like just bad for you. It's like you need to drink small doses of arsenic as punishment. Yes. This will cause you to have issues possibly later in life, or maybe you'll be slightly more immune to arsenic, who knows. But the point is, yeah, this is your punishment, something that could possibly kill you, you know.
I had my pants literally pulled down around my ankles and spanked in front of my friends. As a child, first of all, that embarrassment, it was hard to come back.
I feel like you should probably go to prison for that.
For a short time. Very, very hard. Not only that, but my relationship with my father completely suffered because of it. I resented him. I hated him. I feared him. And it was a long, like, I'm still trying to repair it from this day. And I think that as a parent, now that I'm in that position and my child acts up, yeah, of course, we have to discipline them. But sending them to timeout, which they hate and despise, and then having that conversation of why did you go to timeout, and they understand and they repeat what they're not supposed to do, you know, it works, and they don't do it again. And I think
once again, though, this is the whole issue of you are giving a punishment, but it's not, oh, you've learned not to do the thing. It's you've learned that if you do the thing, you'll be punished, which once again becomes an issue. What happens when it comes to adulthood, and also the person who wants to do the thing, you know. So if it's a very bad thing, I mean, there's, you know, that's kind of...
Can get the point across and discipline our children without abuse, without hitting, without spanking, because that is a lasting impression on a child.
I think with the lasting impression, right, the physical pain is temporary, the mental pain is lifelong forever.
Yeah.
And I don't think that a child, and now adults, should have to live with that trauma for the rest of our lives just because our parents wanted to correct us in that one moment.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think spankings are really effective. spare the rod, spoil the child. I come from parents that we had a huge leather belt, and now that I think about it, we'd always get told, oh, don't make me get the leather belt. And Dad did get the leather belt, but I never got hit with that belt. And it was more to invoke that fear, because I could never imagine my parents honestly hitting me. And I didn't have to get hit to mind or to respect them. But the moment that my parents were to hit me, I would lose respect for them, because I wouldn't expect, I don't expect my parents to have to hit me.
Yeah, and if they do, it's just abusive. You're just like, fuck you. Just because I'm going to be submissive, this is the thing. It's like, well, yeah, are you not submissive of the bully? You know? The bully who's willing to break your jaw if you do something that annoys them? Yeah, sure, you might do what they say. Does that mean you want to do what they say? Does that mean you understand you should? No, you shouldn't fucking do what they say. But the point is you will, because you know what will occur. So inherently, having a punishment is just not a good system. You're not learning from that. You're just not doing it. And even in some cases you are doing it, you're just doing it in a more sneaky way, which is like telling kids, oh, be more careful and sure don't find out, which is just a bad way of doing things, because then they tend to be more dangerous, you know?
I don't think that's what parents should have to do. If you can't use your words to articulate to your children to respect you, we have a bigger problem.
Yeah. First time I ever did get physically spanked was by my grandpa's wife. I lived with her.
Ooh, that's so much worse. Ooh, God.
Blah, blah, blah. And she smacked me, and I smacked her back. You know, like, I wasn't going to take that. I don't take that kind of disrespect. And, like, I don't touch my kids like that. I don't feel like my little 4-year-old daughter, why does she need to be spanked? She's 4. My 6-year-old, he's still learning.
Definitely 4, no. Because, I mean, a 4-year-old, you could even forget the reason, you know? You might remember, you could remember the fucking pain and everything. You could remember the experience and misery of that, but you might not even remember what it was that you were. So all you have is just this memory of just your parent abusing you. You won't even have a memory of what it was for.
Turning the world around him. He doesn't need that. That's abusive to me. No offense, but like, I just see it as abuse. Spanking absolutely was something I couldn't imagine even speaking of on camera for millions of people to see. And I don't see the point of abuse in children as little as 6, 4, you know, that's very young.
450,000,
and very imprinting on children that, you know, are gonna grow up and think that that's how you discipline and that's how you get people to hear what you're saying.
It leaves mental scars when it's used in the wrong scenario. So we were talking about that earlier. If you're spanking your kid every—
What's the right scenario? The right scenario, first of all, could mean I had no time. But it could also mean, like, you know, only, you know, it could also mean anything, really, because different children will have different right scenarios, really.
You should change your parenting, but you only use it when it's a terrible behavior that needs to stop. Like when I was little, okay, I used to shoplift.
Okay, that's pretty bad, actually.
Okay, I would get away with it.
Yeah, but then your parents should probably just bring you down to the police station and say they were shoplifting, charge them.
I thought you could just take a candy bar and then leave, but after like my parents found these like chocolate bars that they weren't paying for, they spanked me, and as they should, because if they hadn't spanked me, they just said—
Okay, wait, what age were you though?
Honey, don't do this.
You
I would have kept doing it.
if they just said, don't do that shit.
But wait, did you make the mistake of like holding it and then walking out? Or did you intentionally take it?
You might have just stopped or took something away from you, or used different effective ways.
The thing
like
is,
taking things away from my son, like me smacking my son's 14 years old, who's bigger than me, stronger than me emasculizing my son and smacking him as a woman and telling him he's doing something wrong, that's wild. That's not going to be effective at all. Let's talk about this. You're going to get the Xbox taken away. I'm not going to take this AAU practice that we're spending $400 on. We're going to do something that's going to be really effective that you actually are going to remember. Because hitting, after a while, that shit don't mean nothing. All right, keep on hitting me. Keep on hitting me.
That's my middle brother. I agree with that being, you know, at 15, being 6'7". You know what I mean? So, you know, my mom was
12.
like, you know, my mom was like your height. You know, so I think to kind of go off what you were saying, the laughter part. We're not laughing because of the spanking. It's more so, and I hope this makes sense, it's laughing because of the experience of love in the discipline that I experienced with my daughter, and the fact that she now understands, and I know that she won't make that same mistake again. Now, to what you were saying, after spanking her, I don't even remember last time I've spanked my daughter, because now, even with my 2-year-old, when they're acting up or doing something or screaming or going crazy, and I'm like, hey guys, stop, and they're still going, I'll get the belt and I'll just jingle, okay, Dad, we're sitting down. And I'm like, oh. So
That's that's like your one. It's just a bit dodgy. It's like a bit dodgy. You know, it's like okay, but also that's a bit like you know, like a prison guard take out the truncheon. Like you know what theoretically they could do. That's intimidation. You're threatening them with violence. Like that. If you were like signing a contract or something and you did that, that contract would not be valid in law because that's intimidation. Use intimidation tactics to get them to do that. So yeah.
So you guys are good? Yeah, Dad, we're good. It's like I don't have to.
It's a respond to stimuli. They're absolutely like, oh shit, we don't want to get hit.
We don't want to get hit, but
out.
also it's a respecting. Like that's my father. He's in there, trying to.
Nah, that's my abuser. More like That's just no. That's not okay. That's like it's just. What if you replace that with someone who's asking you to do something a little bit less, not stop this bad behavior, but more do this thing that you're not comfortable with. If is that okay in that scenario? No, it's fucking not. So
on the computer or something, we are screaming too loud.
It's the job of the parent to make sure the child can come to them for anything and everything and overall love. Why would you teach a child that person would hit them? That's it.
Yeah.
The sexuality of parents influences their kids' sexuality.
I'm not sure, because when it comes to the straight sexuality, the majority of people in society are straight. The majority of media has straight stuff, and a lot of the time, if you like, and for many years, even if some media was not straight, you had to like seek it out. It was like small media, and it was like you might have a show that was relatively popular, but it would be relatively popular with with the queer community. It wasn't like popular with the general public. So it was more like this media is available to you, but also it's not really. It's like because obviously with the modern age, you have like streaming services. So if you've got a show that includes like a gay couple or is about gay people, then you're not going to have the same. That won't be just on television. That'll be available to you, but if it's not like platform, if it's not it's there, it's on our platform, see on our home screen, then you kind of have to seek it out. So I think with all that, with media being a main thing and all that a lot of the time it does depend what you mean by what sexuality, because you can make the argument of, well, maybe the straight relationship of a parent doesn't really affect sexuality, it's just the general societal thing, So I'm not sure, is what I'm saying. Interesting about consider, because presumably they're thinking from the opposite point.
Now, if we're talking about sexuality as in just, being openly like, I hope I'm wording this the right way, promiscuous, or your behaviors.
I mean, the thing is, like, if you are currently in a straight relationship, you could be bisexual, So,
I think it does. A lot of things that I do, my kids do. A lot of things that my wife do, they follow her. So I think if I was behaving in a certain way and, treating my wife a certain way in front of my daughters and my son, I think it would affect the way that they treat themselves and the way they treat others. And would look at sex as more as an object or just something to do more than a intimate thing that you have with one person that, creates a real bond and a friendship.
The thing about childhood is that every kid has a normal one because there's no frame of reference. Everything's relative.
Yeah.
So whatever you put into that child's life becomes their normal. Children that are from same-sex households, they have a higher chance of identifying as LGBTQ. And you could claim that this is because they're more accepting and more receptive to that. But I would say that, I would point to the generations, that each generation, as they got older, the amount of people, the percentage of people that identify as LGBTQ doubles each generation. And some of that can be because...
that is almost always that. Actually, it is always that. Because, have you thought about this? If you say 200 years ago, what would happen to you if you came out as gay? To all of society. Society knew you were gay. In most of the world, that would mean imprisonment. In parts of the world, it would mean execution. and to this day means executions in parts of the world. So when you move from imprisonment to it's okay in the eyes of the law, but it's like, as I would look at certain things, it's considered morally bad, which is a lot of things when you have things that's been illegal for many years. Then it moves to the majority thinks is bad, but there's allies to there's still a majority, but it's like basically kind of close to people who think it's fine and people who think, and then you have people who are like fine with it and people who just don't really understand it. They're not really against you, but they're not really supportive of you either, Then that majority of people who don't like it becomes a minority, but they're still there. They're still there, and if they're in Highlands, if they're the people who are high in society, which it generally is, because those are people who have power, have the ability to do all that stuff. It's going to be in this position. So this is like slow as you phase out this discrimination in society. It takes generations. It takes generation upon generation upon generation, and obviously, with increasing generations, there's going to be like there are people now who will never come out as gay or bisexual or anything like that because they know there'll be discrimination. Whether that be from society or family, whatever the case may be, they know there's going to be discrimination. They're going to live their lives with that inside them. Then, whether they're aware of that or whether they're not aware of that, they're going to live that inside them. They're not going to come out. So, as the generations move on, I think we're beginning to see pushback from your conservative fascists, which will probably begin to push things down. So, yeah. So, really, that's just the thing there. It's just that it happens because you do see the fading out of this. And obviously, there's still a lot of homophobia in countries like America. We're going to, even if you ignore all the other countries where it's just awful. Obviously, for comes like a transgender, it's like England is known to be one of like the worst places in the world, where they're like just the people in general, like just the ideology is just
because of acceptance of society. But I do not believe that it is pure acceptance. There is influence that's happening on our social media, that's happening in media or in the world, but it starts at home, and they're definitely.
I think people are somewhat ignorant about this. Like, do you realize the person who is gay, who got involved in that straight relationship because of society, doesn't necessarily want to be in that relationship, but society is demanding that they are. So, is society demanding that straight people get into a gay relationship? No, it's not. So it's not really accurate to say that.
There is influence in the home that when you see this as normal, it will of course influence your sexuality and how you view these things.
I just want to say quickly that sexuality in the home should be a good role model for your children, should be constructive, it should be loving and not toxic. If a child sees sexuality and sees it as toxic, they may just choose to go the other way.
The other way is not being sexually active.
A lot of gay people have straight parents. A lot of gay parents produce straight kids. So, debunked. You cannot, if you're straight, that doesn't mean your child is straight. If you're gay, that doesn't mean your child.
Yeah. And obviously, the chance of your child being gay is obviously less than them being straight.
Child is gay. I want to stand firm on the fact that sexuality is biological. It's not something you can choose. And if it's something you want to explore, that's
Oh yeah, I want to confirm that too, just to make sure you're aware.
Exploring is, maybe I'll go see what it's like being with a woman. Oh, that didn't feel right. Because it's biological.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 points. One of which is something that you had said about them only knowing the gay, that they're...
Which makes very little sense, because it's not like, there's no straight people in society. What's going on? I'm lost without all the straight people. Where are they in media and other people's parents and society and all of the... No, I guess no. There's obviously a massive imbalance. It's not like, oh, back in the day, that was the day of the straight power. Now it's the gays, they're in power now. It's like, yeah, no, actually, don't think like that. And it's just not accurate to say that. It's just not accurate to say that. It's just like, no, don't say that. Just, it's not accurate to be like, oh yeah, well, people who are not heterosexual have, more representation in media and are less oppressed, but they still are oppressed, and straight people aren't oppressed for being straight. So, it's just...
There's 2 gay parents, and so they relate to that more. In my life, yes, there is 2 gay parents, but we also are surrounded by a lot of straight parents and a lot of straight couples, and their friends come over to play, and they have a mom and a dad, and they come over. So them being only seeing this one thing and then thinking, oh, maybe I'm gay because that's the only thing I know, I don't believe in that.
I don't think that. I just think, what is normal to them? Is it normal for them to have 2 dads? Of course, right? Yeah. Having a mom and a dad, is it normal?
But it's also normal to see other kids with their mom and dad too. I mean, they see it all the time.
Yeah.
And then my second other was...
did you, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, did you see a child with 2 dads and a child with 2 moms? No. That's oppression, It's oppression. It's like saying, when you have women who are in the high positions of authority in companies, it's like, well, yeah, that's gonna be your thing, Like if you have oppression, you can't say, oh look, we've got less oppression now than we did before. This is the new no. Less oppression. There's less oppression. There isn't no oppression. There definitely is not any oppression on straight people. Because they're straight. I mean, there is oppression on straight people, but it's not because they're straight, of course. It's because of other things.
Fact of a choice. I mean, you talked about it. It's definitely not a choice. If I had to choose way back when I was 15, 14, thinking, oh gosh, I'm gay, I would not choose. To have society constantly looking at me, judging me when I'm out to dinner with my 2 girls and people come up and go, you're doing such a good job. You don't do that to straight parents who are out with their kids.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's like, why come up to me?
Yeah, you do.
So I...
Okay, buddy, whatever you're into, or whatever people around you are into. I think you're a parent too, so yeah, actually. Yeah, well, so of course you're a fucking parent. It's consider fucking parents. Like, Jesus, I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? Maybe he means, people come up to him and say that. Which, says something about them, I guess. But also, if you do that to other people, well...
I would not have chosen to be gay if I had the choice. I am gay. I am happy. My
Makes sense.
life is amazing.
I mean, I don't know, though, if you had a choice of oh, you're gay now, but we've got this magic machine which will just take away all that, your sexuality. I'm not really sure if that would be more of a choice or more of just a compromise. Yes, because the way society is structured, you are oppressed. So... boom. If it's oh, you're gay, but we can take that away, or if it's oh, you're straight, but you can choose to be... No, obviously not. But you know what I mean? There is obviously a major difference, which is when society is being oppressive, the reason why you don't want to be this way is not because, it's because society is going to treat you badly, and you know that.
And I wouldn't want it any other way, but back then, when I was figuring things out, I wouldn't have chosen it.
I said they
People
do
tell me that all
compliment
day.
straight parents
Especially
too.
being a black father, I get it all day long.
Oh.
On the other side of things, I want to talk about this notion of what is normal influences what you are. I went to an all-boys school. I'll say this a million times. I went to an all-boys school until I was 15. I did not know what a girl was until I was 15.
Yes.
My parents are heterosexual. They're pretty conservative. They are Christian. Nothing in my environment was saying, you need to be a girl. You are queer. You are lesbian, right? That was just always within me, and nothing in my environment pushed me to do that. I think that is just one very clear example that your environment does not make you have a particular sexuality or gender. That is just within you.
The way I was parented made me feel safe and seen.
I mean...
My parents already knew that they were getting into parenting miles behind other people because the world tells them they're going to be this kind of parent simply because they're gay. From what they've told me before I was born, before my brother was born, it was doing all kinds of research on what works for kids, how to raise a girl, what girl puberty is like, all of these things. They made sure that they were super educated so that the only reason the world could tell them they were a bad parent is because they were gay. And that means nothing. That comes down to your own opinion. And so I grew up feeling so safe, so supported. I came to my parents with any question and they always had the answer. And I
wouldn't always say that necessarily just because parents have an answer it means it's right, but anyway.
I could grow up being whatever I wanted to be. And whether that was sexuality, whether that was career-wise, honestly, growing up with two dads was really beneficial as a woman because there was nothing impeding on, or there were no boundaries set on what a woman should be or what a woman should act like. It was, no, you go out and your brain is your biggest asset and it's the most beautiful thing about you. Go out and do whatever you want. Women can do whatever men can do. And it was really great, actually, to not have a woman in the household that maybe would have derailed that.
I mean, I think, though, partially, this doesn't always happen, but partially I think when you have people who are oppressed, it can sometimes make them realize, wait, maybe the other person who's also oppressed, maybe that's lies about them too, you know? Because if you, like this is sort of thing here, where, like, you know, when you look at the likes of, you know, someone who is depressed, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you're gonna have that thing there. So I think, yeah, but, you know, were you to have a position where you don't have someone who's depressed, I think maybe, you know, you would have a patriarchal thing, would nestle into there. You possibly even more. But anyway.
In some way.
I half agree. I would say I felt safe. I did not particularly feel seen. My parents don't know what being trans is. They don't really understand what being gay was. When I came out to them, they were like, we don't really know what this is, but we love you. And that's what made me feel safe. Even if they don't particularly see me, they came to see me. And at the end of the day, if they say, I love you and you're welcome here, that's what matters. So for me to be met with love from conservative values was pretty shocking because I just have so much experience of observing media where Christians are always paired with anti-LGBT rhetoric.
Oh, that's just because they're homophobes and they want to have some reason to be, so they use religion. But, you know.
And conservatism is not compatible with this. But in my own personal life, I've seen the two be completely compatible. You can be conservative and you can be queer. You can.
Yeah, well, you are a fucking idiot if you are.
And be Christian and you can support LGBT people.
Yeah. That's fair.
And
but being conservative and being queer is just fucking stupid. Like, you are actually an idiot. You know, but anyway.
Something I didn't really think was possible, but
the religion
my parents proved me wrong in that way.
I feel like I grew up with the best parents in the world.
You probably did not, Aldo.
They did everything that they could to make...
I'm gonna put up significant amount of money on that bet that you did not have the best parents.
Me the best person I am today. And there were a lot of times growing up that we were going through really difficult times, but they shielded us from that. There were times that the lights turned off or the heat turned off. And as kids, we don't know what's going on. We just ask, hey, what's going on? Oh, you know, your mom forgot to pay the bill. And all these things were hidden from us until we were way older and we look back at those things and we realized, no, that she didn't forget to pay the bill, or we left the tags on not because they wanted us to choose a different shirt later on. It was because there was serious stuff going on in my family, but they shielded us from that so that we could be kids. And my father, you know, he took me out hunting, took me to my sports.
Okay.
Taught me what it was like and how to be a man.
Jeez, once again, though, buddy, like, you're just kind of wrong there. Like, how to be a man? This is how it should be. It's like,
women. And conversely, my mom taught me how to nurture women and the things that a mother teaches.
You just seem creepy.
A young son. And I feel like I had the best parents, the best experience. And
clearly you didn't.
I can't think of something.
Apologies.
Of anything better.
My dad's probably one of the most soft-spoken individuals I've ever met in my entire life, but I remember instances of feeling safe because I would see him literally snap to dad protection mode when it came to, you know, anyone trying to harm us or my mother or anything like that. And as far as being seen, my parents, they like all of our parents, they had the expectations we talked about us being successful in our career. But I had so many wants and desires from being a teenager, like wanting to be, I want to be a magician, I want to be a skateboarder. Who was buying me magician kits? Who was buying me skateboards? Like, I had the most supportive and I guess you can use the word seeing parents that you could ever ask for. And you know,
I mean, yeah, I guess I get your point. Yeah, I mean, it's a big optimistic nature, but anyway, yeah.
You know, I owe them everything that I am today. The person that I am today is because of them.
And the rest
My
of
parents
society.
didn't agree with my lifestyle. I came out super, super early. I came out like around 12. And my parents are pastors, but my mom always saw me. And when I asked to dress like a boy in like 5th grade, my dad was super resistant because he kind of knew. Because you know when your kids are gay early on, you just know. And I think inherently they knew I was going to be gay. And my dad was not getting jiggy with it. And my mom was like, let her be her. Let her be her. She'll figure it out. And I lost my dad about 3 months ago. Parents were married 50 years, same household, the best people. I'll give you a run for your money because my parents were pretty great too. In this last birthday, my parents sent me a card. And it was the first time they've ever said anything like this to me, which is like, we accept you. We unapologetically accept you and we love you. And that meant more to me than anything in the world because I'm 36 years old and finally my mom and dad, and I needed that. And for people that are hearing this, yeah, your kids, no matter how old they get, they need to hear their parents accept them and validate them. It's important. It does make you feel good. So yeah, my parents are pretty awesome.
I want to start by saying my dad is not the problem. My dad is super supportive. You know, he was invited to my wedding. He walked me down my aisle, you know, and my mom wasn't invited. My mom didn't come to my wedding. My mom didn't get to do, you know, the normal bridal stuff because she did not agree with my lifestyle. But this is by far the happiest that I've ever been, the most headstrong that I have been. And if she can't support that, then I don't want her in my life. And
yeah, fair.
A lot of my family and friends have been kind of like, finally, you finally cut her out. And so, you know, it hurts sometimes, but like also I'm protecting my kids from that exposure.
Yeah, yeah.
That hatred.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Acceptance that she doesn't have for me. My kids don't need that. It's 2022. My kids are the next generation.
Possibly the last.
I want them to know nothing but
or the second last.
Acceptance, loving, caring people. That's it.
Growing up, you know, I think it was kind of the same way. You know, they didn't tell me a lot in order to protect what I would think about situations. And my dad and I, you know, I've kind of talked about that a little bit, but, you know, we didn't have a good relationship just because, you know, we did not connect on any kind of level. But my mom and I really, really connected, and I felt safe with her up until I came out to her. And it was, it was such a bummer moment because we had such a strong relationship, and I felt her just pull away from me when that happened, and it hurt me. And we didn't talk for a little while, and she said she supported me, but her words were not matching with her actions. And especially the past couple years with what's been going on in the world and politics and all of that, it seems like we're even getting further and further apart. And it breaks my heart, and it's sad. And you know, I want to go back to when I was 10 and rekindle that relationship. And now that I have a family and kids, and my family is just so important to me that if she doesn't want to be on board, and if she doesn't believe in the beliefs that I have, you know, like I'm not going to go out of my way to try to convince you if you're already set in your ways. And it's sad, but it's something that has to happen.
Yeah. Brittany. I see you, girl. Yeah, like I said before, I didn't have a safe relationship with my mom or my dad. So I did seek some good modeling. I saw some good modeling with my friends and their families. And actually, the first time I ever saw somebody say I love you was at a friend's house in like 6th or 7th grade. And I saw her mom say I love you. And I thought, what? They say I love you? And then she would sit on her mom's lap and they would hold hands, and I thought, oh my God, what are they doing? I thought it was so bizarre. Okay, I have the opposite relationship with my daughter. We're very
See, I mean, that sort of says all, doesn't it? That you thought that was so
very loving, very open, very tender. But honestly, you know, and the relationship I told you is mended with my.
I mean, you know.
With my parents, but honestly, they're still broken. Everybody's still broken. We're all broken. What mended me the most was, I'll say it again, is having the relationship with my true father. That's what mended me the most out of anything that's ever happened. And I've gone to therapy, I've gone to psychics, I've gone to...
Psychics? Right. So scam artists then. Oh, to be fair, some psychics actually do believe the bullshit they say. Unfortunately, they're still full of bullshit. This is the problem. People seem to like give people a free pass because they believe it. It's like, well, yes, I know it's obviously a lot better. Someone's like, no, this is the way they, yeah, that's obviously a lot better than if they honestly do realize that they're talking nonsense. But like, for you, they're still talking nonsense.
Everybody, I've done everything you can possibly think of to heal from the traumas, and nothing
No.
healed.
I will say that doesn't mean psychics can't help as such, but it's just the way they go about it is not very nice.
Me. Like,
even if they think that they are helping, even if they think they are contacting spirits, and all that, it's just
the relationship with Jesus that I have.
Oh my God! Overly religious people are just they tend to actually miss the whole point of their religion half the time.
And that love and that security and that tenderness is that's in that safe space. That's the most safe you'll ever feel, because nothing that anybody else on the planet says can matter to you when you know who you are from the Creator.
Oh God.
100%. Anybody can throw a stick and a stone at me. None of it matters when you know who you belong to. And so that's what I have conveyed now to my child, that no matter what is on the outside, no matter how much pain each of our families brings to us or our external circumstances bring to us, none of it's going to shake us because we know who we are.
It's kind of hard because I don't know what it's like to be a single black mother, you know, and the struggles that come from it. You know, my dad, I have a good relationship with him. The blessing that I have of not being seen and not feeling loved is that I got to watch. So being alone, you know, the only child, being alone, I got to see certain behaviors, and, you know, I have relatives that do drugs. I'm 33, I've never smoked or drank a day in my life, you know. Never done, you know, a lot of things, and it's because God put a hedge around me and a protection around me to be able to watch. I understood at a very young
You can't really see beyond the hedge, but anyway.
age what love was, because I wasn't getting love. So I knew when I had my children, I knew exactly what to do. It is, I understand that, you know, there's mental health, there's trauma, there's a lot of things that are out there that people, you know, suffer with. How do you not know how to love your child?
Well, you think you know it all the time, and then some people just don't fucking care. Like, they just don't care.
Especially as a black man, being a father, real quick, one time.
But it is not, like, a lot of people do think they know, like, they just don't. They think they do, you know?
Me and my daughter, we were at a restaurant, and I was getting her some food.
It's not like they're like, oh, how do I do this? I don't know how to. No, they do think that they think they know. They just aren't doing it right. But they honestly do think.
Food, and this black guy, sitting at the table, and he's like watching me and my daughter, and I'm like, you know, protection mode, like, why are you staring at my daughter and she's wearing this dress? You know, I'm just like freaking out, right? So I pay for the food, turn around, he's behind me. And he's like, I just wanted to tell you thank you. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, dude, I've been sitting here for 3 hours waiting for my baby mom to bring my daughter here. I haven't seen her in months. And he was like, and then like a tear came down. He's like, I finally got to see what I want. So, you know, to not have that, my mom, she did the best she could. I love my mother. Haven't spoke to my mom in 3 years. My wife hasn't spoke to her family in 6. And it's because of the protection and the love that we have in our home, that it's like, hey, you're not gonna come to my house and talk about my daughter because she has mixed hair and you want me to put a perm in her hair because you don't like how curly it is. No, you can go. I don't care if I never see you again. It's about my family. So the cutting off, I'm 100% with you. But the not being seen and not having that love, the providing was there, but just not having that love, I feel like I took it in as kind of a blessing, because now I get to love my kids. Like.
Good job, everybody.
Well, that was that. So I think, yeah, lots of different things going on there. You know, we've lots of all sorts of things going on. So basically, that was a video by Jubilee. You can find the links to that video and their channel in the description. And yeah, thanks for watching, I guess. Hopefully you will do all the little subscribies and all those little thingamajigs. That'd be nice of you. Anyway, goodbye. And yeah, video was a little long, but yeah, bye.